The tale unfolds in the Silver Dragon Dungeon, a prison guarded by two fearsome dragon sentinels. The Silver Dragon Queen, Roswis, arrives, ordering the guards to leave so she can confront the prisoner alone. Bound in chains before her is none other than Leon Cosmo, the legendary dragon-slaying hero. With a sly grin, Roswis taunts him, asking how it feels to be at the mercy of the dragon clan. Leon's response is curt: he wishes only to die. Amused, she steps closer, lifting his chin to examine his face. His defiance, coupled with his striking looks, intrigues her. She drags a sharp nail across his cheek, leaving a shallow cut. Leon turns his head away, refusing to give her the satisfaction of seeing him falter. If she intended to kill him, he urged her to make it quick. Roswis, however, was not in a hurry. She licked the blood from his wound, proposing that he join the Silver Dragon clan. Leon mocked her suggestion, questioning if she was worthy of such an ally. Enraged by his insolence, she whipped him with her tail, slamming his body into the wall. With her foot pressed against his chest, she marveled at his audacity. This was no ordinary man. Leon Cosmo, once hailed as humanity's greatest hero, had been betrayed and left to languish in captivity. His dreams of eradicating the Dragon clan and cementing a legacy were shattered. Roswis sneered, reminding him of his fall from grace. With no heir and no future, his name would fade into obscurity. Despite her taunts, Leon warned her not to underestimate humans. The Dragon Queen seized him by the neck. Tightening her grip, she reflected on how stubborn he was. Then, with a commanding tone, she asked if he was ready to beg for mercy. He revealed her first mistake: being alone with the strongest dragon slayer. Her second mistake, he explained with chilling clarity, was tasting his blood. Before she could react, Leon activated a forbidden technique, the blood curse. The curse struck instantly. Roswis recoiled, trembling as an uncontrollable desire overwhelmed her. She collapsed, her body betraying her. Leon watched coldly, declaring that she would live the rest of her life in torment. Unable to resist, Roswis lunged at him, their encounter turning bizarre and heated. Leon could no longer comprehend what was happening. The Dragon Queen, controlled by the curse, leaned in and kissed him. Leon's cheeks flushed red. Hours later, when the curse began to subside, Roswis regained her senses, horrified and furious. "What have you done to me?" she demanded. Leon explained the nature of the blood curse, a one-time forbidden spell that linked their souls. Upon his death, she would suffer endlessly. Roswis scoffed, asking why the curse had such an unexpected side effect. Leon admitted he hadn't anticipated this reaction, but it seemed the spell's power was far more complex than he had realized. Blushing with embarrassment, Roswis understood the grim implications. Dragons adhered to strict monogamy, and this bond would doom her future. She would never take another mate, bear offspring, or explain this disgrace to her clan. Ironically, Leon had achieved his revenge. She had mocked him for lacking a successor, yet now she faced the same fate. Enraged, she prepared to strike, but Leon stopped her, his voice steady. "You don't need to kill me. I'll die soon anyway." As his life faded, he made a final request: that she live in hatred and pain, bearing the weight of his curse. Moments later, Leon drew his last breath. Roswis stood frozen, grappling with the reality of his vengeance. This mere human had exacted his revenge in a way she could never have anticipated. Refusing to let his defiance be his final act, she marked his chest with the Silver Dragon emblem. Leon Cosmo's life had been extraordinary. At 5, he killed a vicious dog with his bare hands, earning the attention of a master dragon slayer who made him an apprentice. By 10, he entered the Imperial Dragon Slayer Academy, graduating 4 years later as its youngest and most esteemed student. At 15, he became a hero, slaying dragons and reclaiming territories for the Empire. His name inspired hope across the land until his capture 2 years ago. Now, Leon awoke with a scream, his hand instinctively clutching his chest. Gradually, Leon's breathing steadied as he calmed down. He looked around, finding himself in a strange room. Confused, he wondered where he was until the door suddenly opened. A small girl stepped inside, her innocence and beauty striking him. Blinking, he struggled to make sense of the situation. Rising from the bed, he gazed at her. She seemed so pure he thought she might be an angel. Surely he had died and ascended to heaven after his service to humanity. But he was wrong. "What's your name?" Leon asked, still in disbelief. The girl smiled sweetly. "Her name is Moon." Though her response made him feel oddly happy, something about her was strange. Her hair, a mix of black and white, was unlike anything he'd ever seen. She mentioned her mother had told her the name meant the moon, further confusing Leon. Did angels even have mothers? When he introduced himself, Muen beamed with excitement. Leon means lion, she exclaimed. Surprised, he asked how she knew that. She smiled again. That's what my mother told me. A growing unease gripped Leon. What's your mother's name? He asked cautiously. Rosweiss, Muen replied cheerfully. Leon froze. The name hit him like a thunderclap and he quickly pieced it together. Am I your father? Muen grinned. Yes. Panic surged through him. How could this be possible? How could he have a child with Rosweiss? Before he could process it, Muen turned to the door. Her mother stood there, sending chills down Leon's spine. Mama, Daddy's awake? Muen called out, running to her. Rosweiss's lips curled into a smile, not the one her daughter expected. While Muen believed her mother was happy because she visited him daily, Rosweiss wore a wicked grin as she stroked her daughter's head. Go outside and play, dear, Rosweiss said sweetly. Your father and I need to talk. Once Muen left, Leon stared at Rosweiss in disbelief. Is Muen really our daughter? Yes, she confirmed, closing the door behind her with her tail. She's our biological child? Leon's mind raced. Why did you have the child? Why did you save me? You've been asleep for 2 years, Rosweiss replied coldly. I haven't forgotten what you did to me and I'll never let it go. Anger flared in Leon's eyes. I never wanted this. We're different, we can't coexist. Rosweiss's expression darkened. Oh, it was torment for you, was it? Her tail wrapped around his leg, yanking him onto the bed. She climbed on top of him, tearing his shirt open as a cold gleam lit her eyes. Chanting a spell, she activated a mark to bind him to her forever. Leon begged her to stop, but she ignored him, pressing her hand to his chest. A glowing magic circle appeared, forever marking him with her dragon emblem. You'll never leave me, Rosweiss declared. From now on you're mine. Leon realized the mark would doom him. His comrades would see it as a sign of betrayal, believing he'd surrendered to the dragon clan. Dragon's vengeance was infamous, an obsessive, inhuman need for retribution. Rosweiss didn't just want him defeated. She wanted him humiliated, broken, and enslaved. As the spell completed, Leon felt an overwhelming desire he couldn't control. For Rosweiss it was a triumph. The greatest dragon slayer in human history was now her slave, her companion. Word spread quickly through the Silver Dragon Castle. The queen's husband had awakened. Even the maids noticed her unusually good mood. Hiding in a corner, Leon overheard whispers of his supposed new status and was horrified. Rosweiss had publicly declared him her husband. No one knew how terrifying she truly was. She had spent an entire day and night with him, leaving his body nearly broken. His waist felt shattered, but his spirit burned with fury. I won't stay here as her plaything, Leon vowed. Late at night, he slipped out of his room, heading for the castle's side door. 4 dragon guards stood watch, making escape seem impossible. The castle was oddly quiet, with far fewer guards than he remembered from 2 years ago. Something felt off. While searching for a way out, he stumbled upon a hidden hole in the grass. Faint light shone from the other side. Unsure if it was a trap, Leon didn't hesitate. He had to escape no matter what. Crawling through the narrow tunnel, he muttered a bitter farewell to the perverted dragon queen. As for little Muen, though she was adorable, she would have to stay behind, for now. On the balcony, Muen ran to her mother, eagerly announcing, "Father is digging a hole for the dog." The dragon queen, lounging in a bikini and sipping wine, chuckled at Leon's audacity. Muen tilted her head curiously. "When will you go and fish him back?" Rosweiss smirked and corrected her, "Not fish, darling. Say catch him back instead." Muen nodded, though a bit confused, and repeated, "Catch him back." As the night deepened, Leon finally escaped the castle and darted into the nearby forest. He was determined to climb the mountains ahead, where he hoped to see the border of human territory. Hours passed, and Leon felt certain the Dragon Queen wouldn't catch up. But his relief was short-lived. The sky darkened, and Rosweiss appeared above him in her true dragon form, wings spread wide as she praised his speed. "Impressive," she said, landing gracefully in front of him. Her smile was sharp, her tone teasing. "I distracted the guards and left that little escape route for you." Leon cursed silently, realizing her trap. Still, he bolted in defiance, though he knew returning to human territory now, with the Dragon Queen's mark on his chest, meant no one would believe he was still a dragon slayer. Rosweiss, clearly enjoying his defiance, swooped down and caught him effortlessly in her claws. Soaring high, she flew toward the human border, her grip unrelenting. After hours of flight, she dropped him near a border city, sending him crashing into the ground. Dazed and battered, Leon rose, spotting the distant lights of human settlements. Rosweiss, now in her human form, stood nearby and calmly confirmed, "Yes, we're in your empire." For most, such a sight would bring hope, but for Leon, it felt out of reach. Before he could react further, the mark on his chest began to glow, and an unbearable heat surged through him. Rosweiss smirked knowingly. "Ah, I forgot to mention. When one bearer of the dragon mark desires intimacy, the other has no choice but to comply." The realization struck Leon like lightning. This was her final humiliation. Despite his efforts to resist, he was bound to her will. Grabbing her arm, Leon glared at her. "I'll repay every humiliation you've inflicted on me. Twice over." Amused, Rosweiss chuckled, her sharp gaze locking onto his. "I'll be waiting whether you return dead or alive." Hours later, beneath a tree near the border city, their twisted fate played out once more. The Dragon Queen seemed satisfied, but Leon was drained and quietly furious. Touching the mark on his chest, Rosweiss casually mused aloud, "Perhaps I'll bring you back here every month. It could be fun to visit your homeland." Leon gritted his teeth, his spirit unbroken. "I'm not your prey. I'll walk back with what little dignity I have left." Rosweiss raised an eyebrow. "Walk? It'll take you half a month to return on foot." "Don't underestimate human endurance," Leon snapped, determined to prove her wrong. Rosweiss smiled slyly, curious to see how long he could endure. She followed him silently, amused by his faltering steps. Hours later, Leon spotted knights patrolling nearby, Imperial Dragon Slayers. Hope surged through him. But Rosweiss's piercing glare warned him. If he called for help, she wouldn't hesitate to kill them. One knight approached. "Are you lost?" he asked politely. Leon forced a smile and lied, "No, just out for a walk." The knight dismounted, introducing himself as the captain of the 47th Squadron. "This area isn't safe for casual strolls," he said, gesturing to the dangerous wildlife in the jungle. He offered to escort them, leaving Leon caught in an impossible dilemma. Leon panicked as his hands trembled while he quickly thanked the captain for his kindness, insisting they had learned self-defense and could manage on their own. In truth, he wanted the captain to stay away. The captain's recognition of Leon's face put the Dragon Queen on high alert. Her eyes narrowed as she discreetly began channeling her power, ready to eliminate the captain if necessary. Realizing the situation was escalating, Leon acted swiftly. He grabbed the Dragon Queen's hand, pulling her close to his chest. With a nervous smile, he told the captain he'd been mistaken for someone else, joking that he had such an ordinary face. Even his wife, the Dragon Queen, occasionally mistook him. Leaning in, Leon whispered desperately, begging her to play along and promising to return with her if she helped him get rid of the knights. Amused, the Dragon Queen decided to indulge him. Together, they put on a convincing act, with Leon feigning affection as he held her close. The captain, clearly uncomfortable with the display, smiled awkwardly and excused himself, losing interest in their romantic moment. As soon as the knights left, Leon released the Dragon Queen, who looked visibly annoyed. Realizing his mistake, he quickly stepped back. "You were wise not to ask for help," she remarked coldly. "But let's be clear, just because we have a child doesn't make me your wife." Leon, catching his breath, replied, "I never wanted to be your husband." Satisfied with his answer, she smirked and turned to leave, reminding him of the long journey ahead. But before they could continue, Leon felt a sharp pain in his hand before collapsing unconscious. The Dragon Queen sighed, amused by his fragility. Transforming into her dragon form, she gently picked him up with her mouth and tossed him onto her back. Taking his collapse as a silent plea for mercy, she spread her wings and flew toward the Silver Dragon Castle, pleased with the turn of events. The next morning at the castle, Leon woke to find little Mune sitting beside his bed. Confused, he wondered how he'd returned. Mune cheerfully explained that her mother had brought him back. Realizing he'd been captured like prey, Leon glanced at his hand, now neatly bandaged with a bow tied around it. Mune proudly declared she had done the bandaging herself, clearly seeking his praise. Leon smiled and gently stroked her head. "You're amazing, Mune," he said warmly before teasing, "but don't grow up to be like your mother." From the doorway, the Dragon Queen's voice cut in. "And what's wrong with being like me?" Leon froze, startled. Nervously, he tried to change the subject as Mune excitedly showed her mother the bandaged hand, explaining she'd followed her instructions perfectly. The Dragon Queen gave no praise. "That's what you're supposed to do," she said coolly. Myun nodded, accustomed to her mother's stern demeanor. Trying to shift the atmosphere, Leon patted Myun's head again. "Why don't you go hide in the garden? I'll count to 100 and come find you." Myun's eyes lit up as she ran off eagerly. Once she was gone, Leon turned to the Dragon Queen. "Why are you so hard on her?" he asked. Sitting on the bed, she explained that dragons raised their children strictly to create strong warriors. Leon countered that Myun wasn't fully a dragon and besides she was very cute. The Dragon Queen scoffed. "Myun is a dragon and cute is an insult to our kind." Leon thought she was cute too, but his comment only fueled her anger. She grabbed his shirt, reminding him, "You're just a slave for me to vent my frustrations on. Don't overstep your place." Recognizing her position, Leon backed down. Her mood lightened slightly, and she entrusted him with caring for Myun. Leaning close, she whispered, "She likes you." Overwhelmed, Leon wandered to the fountain, lamenting his new responsibility of caring for a child, especially as a dragon slayer. Spotting Myun hiding behind a pillar, he declared, "I found you." But she didn't move. Confused, he apologized for making her wait, only for her to suddenly take off running. Leon chased after her, calling out, "Why are you running?" Myun dashed around a corner, leaving Leon momentarily disoriented as he lost sight of her. Predicting a child's mood was no easy task for him. It was becoming clear why the Dragon Queen had entrusted him with caring for the little one. Just as worry began to creep in, Myun suddenly appeared behind him, wrapping her arms around him in a hug. Startled, Leon recalled seeing her run past him earlier. However, Myun confidently denied it, explaining with a smile that since her dad hadn't found her, she had decided to look for him instead. Though puzzled, Leon concluded he must have been mistaken. Taking his hand, Myun insisted he follow her, promising to show him something special. As they moved, another girl eerily similar to Myun emerged from behind and silently observed them. Later that day, once the fountains were turned on, Myun gleefully painted on a canvas, thoroughly enjoying herself. Leon sat nearby, watching her with a warm smile, a surge of tenderness washing over him. For the first time, having a daughter felt good, like a soothing balm for his weary soul. While Myun played, Leon clenched his fists, teeth gritted in determination. He resolved to find a way to escape the Dragon Queen's grasp. Before he could act, Myun ran over, excitedly presenting a drawing. Leon took it with a cheerful smile, ready to offer praise, but his expression shifted to shock. The picture showed two girls. Thinking it was a simple mistake, he pointed at the second child and asked, "Why are there two of you?" With a tender smile, Myun replied, "That's my older sister." Panic set in as Leon processed her words. The girl he had glimpsed earlier wasn't a figment of his imagination. Regretting not addressing her earlier, Leon feared he might have upset her. Myun, however, reassured him that her sister wasn't angry, just a little shy about meeting their dad. Leaning his chin on his hand, Leon contemplated the situation. He had never met Myun's sister before, and it dawned on him how much the Dragon Queen had kept from him. Frustration bubbled up and he decided to confront her. In the Silver Dragon Castle library, the Dragon Queen was perusing letters when a tiny messenger dragon arrived with a note. The sound of hurried footsteps caught her attention, and moments later, Leon burst in, his frustration evident. He demanded answers, explaining how he'd learned about the older daughter while playing with Myun. The Dragon Queen, amused by his outburst, calmly asked what had unsettled him. Slamming his hand on the table, Leon declared his admiration for her dedication, acknowledging the effort it must have taken to raise two children. He even vowed to add her name to his family tree once he returned to the Empire. The Dragon Queen, smiling faintly, explained that she hadn't mentioned her eldest daughter because she didn't see it as relevant. Leon speculated that it might be because of jealousy over his bond with Myun, but the Dragon Queen seemed surprised at his eagerness to meet Noah. Deciding to humor him, she agreed to arrange a meeting but warned him to tread carefully. As night fell, Leon made his way to the kitchen, determined to win over his eldest daughter. He set about preparing a hearty meat stew with cream, a dish from his adventuring days, known for its sweet, comforting flavor. Tasting the rich broth, he clenched his fist with determination, imagining Noah smiling and declaring how much he loved her dad's cooking. Through the kitchen window, two maids watched him curiously. They found his efforts endearing, especially since he had recently recovered from illness. To them, Leon epitomized a caring father and devoted husband. Soon, the Dragon Queen entered the kitchen with Myun and another girl in tow. Myun greeted the maids enthusiastically, while Leon braced himself, spoon in hand, ready to face Noah. The Dragon Queen, seeking a more relaxed atmosphere for dinner, instructed the maids to take a break. Bowing respectfully, they replied, "Understood," before leaving the room. As Leon plated the meal, he carried the steaming stew to the table just as the Dragon Queen entered the dining area. Little Myun dashed toward him, drawn by the mouth-watering aroma. With a warm smile, Leon said, "I heard you both like meat, so I made a special stew and fillet just for you." He hoped this meal would express his affection, particularly to Noah. To his dismay, Noah barely glanced at the food, her attention wandering elsewhere. Leon froze in disbelief, confused by her indifference. The Dragon Queen, observing the scene, smiled knowingly. Frustration flared within Leon as he realized she had anticipated this reaction, which likely explained her hesitation in arranging this meeting. Breaking the silence, the Dragon Queen prompted Noah to introduce herself. Obediently, Noah said, "I am Noah, the eldest daughter of the Silver Dragon Queen Roseways." She added proudly, "I'm 1 year and 2 months old." Dragons, being a long-lived race, matured much faster than humans. Leon stepped forward, extending his hand in greeting. "I'm your dad," he said, striving to make a good impression. To his surprise, Noah seemed momentarily captivated by him, but her aloof demeanor lingered, unsettling him. He began to question whether she harbored resentment or doubts about him. Sensing the tension, Myun gently took Noah's arm and whispered, encouraging her to talk with their dad to ease the discomfort. Noah's response, however, cut deep. "He seems very weak," she said bluntly. "I'm not sure he's really our dad." Her words struck Leon like arrows, forcing him to confront the harsh reality of his new role. It was clear that this was the first significant challenge of his journey as Papa Leon. Leon wiped his face with a cloth, reflecting on the challenging situation. He couldn't shake the feeling that his daughter might be testing him intentionally. Despite the tension, he braced himself for what lay ahead. Noah firmly rejected something, her determined expression showing her unwavering resolve. Whatever it was, she stood her ground with conviction. The family gathered around the dining table in an elegant room, the atmosphere heavy with unspoken tension. Subtle glances were exchanged, and Myun quietly sought help with her eyes. The twins sat side by side, their resemblance clear but their contrasting personalities shining through. While Noah ate with focused attention, Myun kept the conversation alive. Leon looked warmly at Noah and asked, "Are you enjoying the meal?" His tone was gentle, filled with care and curiosity. Suddenly, Noah cried out, breaking the calm atmosphere. Leon, startled by the outburst, froze in shock. Roswazek covered her mouth, clearly amused by the unfolding chaos. Myun, noticing her mother's laughter, curiously asked why she seemed so happy. Leon, catching the contagious joy, began to laugh along with the others. He expressed how being surrounded by family brought him happiness. Myun eagerly asked if their father would join them for dinner every day, her eyes sparkling with hope. However, Noah, wearing a serious expression, immediately rejected the idea. Puzzled, Myun asked why her sister was so against the idea of daily family dinners, struggling to understand. Their mother, calm and composed, shifted the conversation, questioning Noah's urgency to attend a prestigious academy for dragons. "Why the rush?" she asked. With confidence, Noah declared her desire to face and defeat even more dragon subordinates, her determination evident. Leon, wiping his face in disbelief, began to realize that his daughter might even aspire to surpass him one day. Gently, he cautioned her about the dangers of fighting powerful dragons at her young age. Annoyed, Noah crossed her arms and retorted, "I'm not a child," leaving Leon exasperated. Roswazek supported Noah's eagerness, believing early preparation would help her face future challenges. Turning to Leon, she questioned if he had any specific reasons for opposing their daughter's ambitions, subtly challenging his hesitations. Leon sighed in frustration, realizing that pushing back would only strengthen Noah's resolve to prove herself. Resigned, he chose to stay silent, acknowledging the situation with visible reluctance. Roswazek, smirking, warned Leon to tread carefully, reminding him how quickly decisions about their daughter's future could be made. Leon, visibly stressed, felt the weight of her words. Noah was informed that the academy's entrance exam would be in a month, and Leon was tasked with helping her prepare. Her enthusiastic agreement filled the room with renewed energy. As the dinner concluded, the family exchanged playful banter about how full they were, teasing each other lightheartedly. Roswazek then called out in a serious tone, catching everyone's attention. Leon, gesturing to the uncleared table, suggested that a true family dinner should end with both husband and wife cleaning up together. Rozwazek, unfazed, replied that such tasks were best left to others, subtly dismissing his suggestion. Leon countered, hinting that a harmonious family image required genuine effort, not mere appearances. Muin, eager to help, declared her intention to join in, her excitement infectious. Leaving the dragon mama with no choice but to agree. While Moon's excitement overwhelms the room as she declares that wants to help. Suddenly, she finds herself being pulled away, leaving her confused as she struggles to keep up with her parents. Meanwhile, Rozwazek confronted Leon, questioning when he planned to lend a hand. Leon, crossing his arms, reminded her of something he had told her 2 years ago. Rozwazek, radiating power, firmly refused to deal with someone who had undergone rigorous training. Leon, standing confidently, demanded to know her intentions, his sharp tone hinting that he was no longer easily manipulated. Rozwazek launched a powerful strike, warning him not to think escape was an option. Leon caught her attack effortlessly, holding her in place. With a smirk, he asked, "Who said I was trying to escape?" Rozwazek groaned in pain, struggling against his strength, as Leon taunted her for her weakened state. Mockingly, he called her a fallen queen and explained how the dragon's mark had diminished her power. He revealed knowledge he had gained from her tribe's ancient texts, unsettling her. Noticing her shock, he smirked, taunting her thirst for control. Rozwazek, breathless and flushed, questioned whether Leon had ever truly been under her control, her emotions raw and unguarded. She demands her tail be released, clearly indicating she's being restrained. Leon, holding her tail firmly, speaks in a calm yet menacing tone, accusing her of disrespecting his dignity ever since he awakened. His smug expression contrasts with her shocked and vulnerable state as she glares at him angrily. Rozwazek responds fiercely, refusing to submit and calling him a bastard. Her emotions boiling over, she challenges his dominance, her glare filled with defiance. Meanwhile, two maids gossip in the hallway, curious if the queen and her family have finished their private time. Their curiosity hints at something unusual. Peeking into the kitchen, they are shocked to find it spotless, as if someone meticulously scrubbed every corner. The maids speculate if the prince is responsible for the surprising cleanliness. One, delighted, holds up a polished plate. Meanwhile, Leon stands silently, observing the situation with a calm, focused demeanor. Holding Rozwazek firmly, he mocks her fall from grace, warning her to stay quiet to avoid being discovered by the maids. Rozwazek's eyes blaze with anger and determination as the door shuts firmly, reflecting her inner struggle against the humiliating circumstances. Leon smirks, tightening his grip, mockingly calling her his wife as he suggests they get started. His expression shifts to a cold, determined gaze, asserting his control over the moment. Rozwazek's eyes reveal exhaustion and helplessness as she barely responds, seemingly resigned to her fate. 3 days later, the scene shifts to a bright, majestic castle under a clear blue sky. Two sisters stand by their father's bedside, worried as he hasn't woken up in days. One wonders if he might be dead, but the other reassures her to wait. Suddenly, Leon reacts as Noah kicks him in the face. Groaning, he questions if any child would treat their parent this way. Leon regains awareness to find Muin by his side, eagerly reacting to his movement. Muin joyfully announces his return to consciousness, while Noah watches nearby. Confused, Leon wonders when he fainted. Rozwazek calmly offers to help him recall, triggering a flashback of her striking him and rendering the dragon mark powerless. Leon reflects on her overwhelming power, realizing how easily she could have ended him. Recovering, Leon sits quietly, observing Rozwazek, who has turned her back to him. Despite her intimidating strength, he notes her beauty and recalls that she is a dragon over 200 years old. Muin, noticing her father's stillness, innocently speculates he's stunned by their mother's appearance. Rozwazek, caught off guard as something strikes a nearby surface, turns in surprise. Leon picks up a flower accessory from the floor and gently places it on Rozwazek, saying it suits her. Surprised, she questions his gesture. Leon chuckles, joking about combing his master's donkey as a child, claiming he has a knack for such things. Muin curiously asks what a donkey is, catching him off guard. Smiling, Leon explains that donkeys are smaller and more stubborn than dragons, mimicking their behavior to amuse her. Rozwazek, watching intently, notes the stubbornness she shares with donkeys. Suddenly, she strikes Leon, sending him reeling. Wincing, he reassures Muin he's fine when she expresses concern. Rozwazek assigns Leon the task of teaching the girls to write, leaving him stunned. Muin cheers at the news, while Noah confidently claims she already knows how. The sisters race to the study room, excitedly discussing their pens. Meanwhile, Rozwazek informs Leon of her sister's upcoming visit and instructs him to avoid meeting her. Leon, surprised, questions why he's being excluded. Rozwazek reminds him of his new role within the Silver Dragon clan and the 2 years he spent in a coma due to a mysterious illness. She emphasizes that he must maintain a fabricated identity if forced to meet her sister. Leon listens intently, processing the situation. With a serious expression, he acknowledges her instructions, addressing her respectfully as Your Majesty. After Rosways leaves, Leon ponders whether he will truly follow her orders. Standing alone, he begins plotting ways to embarrass her in front of her sister. The scene transitions to the children's study room in Silver Dragon Castle. Leon sits at a table, patiently teaching Noah and Myun to write their names. Demonstrating step by step, he provides examples and asks them to copy his writing. Myun appears excited, while Noah's expression is more serious. Studying his writing, Noah comments that it's not as good as their mother's, hinting at her high standards. Leon feels a twinge of frustration but doesn't respond. When he gets up to leave, Myun curiously asks where he's going. Leon explains he needs to deliver something to their mother, assuring them he'll check on their progress later. Noah doubts his seriousness, but Myun teases her sister for looking happy. Flustered, Noah denies it and insists they focus on practicing. The scene shifts to the grand gates of Silver Dragon Castle, where soldiers and nobles gather for a formal event. Isha Melkvi, the Red Dragon Queen, makes a striking entrance with her fiery red hair and regal attire. Rosways rushes to greet her sister warmly, their close bond evident in their reunion. Isha compliments Rosways on her vibrant appearance. Slightly flustered, Rosways modestly disagrees. Curious, Isha asks about Rosway's husband, having heard he's recently woken up. Disappointed by Rosway's explanation that he's unwell and unable to meet her, Isha teases her about her quick marriage and child, implying a strong connection between the couple. Defensive, Rosways denies any past or future attraction to Leon, dismissing the notion of a harmonious relationship. Isha smirks, amused by her sister's steadfast demeanor. Suggesting they chat in the garden, Rosways leads the way. Meanwhile, Leon observes the sisters from a distance using a telescope. Recognizing Isha, he watches intently, scheming ways to test the range of the dragon pattern's influence. In the garden, surrounded by blooming roses, the sisters discuss instability in the dragon clan, particularly the activity of the Red Flame Dragon King. Isha speculates that Constantine, long thought missing, may be leveraging the chaos to expand his territory. Rosways reacts with a sudden glow of energy, her body tense as she senses something unusual. Concerned, Isha asks what's wrong, but Rosways dismisses it with a smile, urging her to continue. Internally, however, Rosways curses Leon, muttering about the damn dragon slayer. Isha suggests strengthening border defenses and mentions sending Shin Long to maintain communication about new developments. She then remarks on how casually young dragons are using the dragon pattern, clearly amused. As Isha continues to speak, Roswais feels the dragon pattern growing stronger, wondering what might happen if this continues. Isha then turns her eyes to Roswais, asking what is going on and realizing she is blushing. Roswais answers that she forgot something important and will be back in a few moments. Curious, Isha asks if she needs help and angry, Roswais deny her a company. Isha, realizing what's happening, smiles while thinking about the couple's games. Back in the castle, Leon lounges in a chair, amused by his experiment with the dragon pattern. He wonders how long Rosways can endure its effects. Suddenly, the door bursts open and Rosways storms in, seething with anger. Grabbing Leon by the collar, she accuses him of activating the dragon pattern to humiliate her in front of her sister. Leon quickly adopts an innocent expression, looking at her with mock affection. "Is it wrong for me to want you?" he asks, his tone soft and pitiful. Rosways freezes, her face flushing a deep red at his unexpected words. Letting go of his collar, she covers her face with her hand to hide her embarrassment. Leon smirks inwardly, pleased that his act seems to have worked, even as he wonders if she now feels disgusted by him. Blushing deeply, Rosways turns away and accuses Leon of being shameless. She reminds him that he's merely a defeated prisoner and has no right to speak such nonsense. With a stern tone, she tells him to put away his dirty thoughts. Leon remains silent, offering only a calm smile, while Rosways, her face still flushed, glances back at him and thinks, "I came here to confront him, so why did his words catch me off guard?" Storming out with an angry blush, she warns him that he got lucky this time, but if he tries such antics again she won't let it slide. Leon, amused, watches her leave and inwardly chuckles, thinking how a single word managed to fluster her so much. Reflecting on the situation, he notes how powerful the dragon pattern truly is. Yet, as he dwells on her reactions, he feels his heart racing unexpectedly. Shaking his head, he mutters to himself, "Cosmode, wake up. Stop thinking nonsense. The kids are still waiting for me." But it's clear that the growing tension between him and Roseways is steering the story into new territory. Back in the study room, Noah practices her writing with serious focus, while Moon, slacking off, wonders aloud why their father hasn't returned yet. Later that evening at Silver Dragon Castle, Aisha bids farewell to Roseways, announcing that she's leaving. Roseways waves her off, urging her to travel safely. Aisha transforms into her red dragon form, playfully teasing her sister to let her meet Roseways' husband next time. Roseways agrees but quickly shifts the subject. As Aisha soars into the night sky with her knights, Roseways watches her departure with a pensive expression, thinking, "I expected trouble in this chapter, but this wasn't the chaos I had anticipated. What mischief lies ahead for this family?" Gritting her teeth with renewed determination, Roseways thinks, "Damn dragon slayer. He still hasn't learned his lesson." Somewhere else in the castle, Leon sneezes repeatedly, wondering if someone's talking about him. He returns to the study room reading a bedtime story to Noah and Myun. As the girls fall asleep, Leon quietly closes the book, tucks them in and whispers, "Don't catch a cold." He tiptoes out, carefully shutting the door. Suddenly, Roseways slams her hand against the door with a loud thud, startling him. Her serious expression catches him off guard as she demands, "Where are you planning to go?" Leon, awkwardly scratching his head, asks, "Is your sister gone?" Roseways smirks slyly, replying, "We still have things to settle tonight." Grabbing his collar, she drags him along, ignoring his protests. In the Silver Dragon Queen's bedroom, Leon places a tub of steaming water on the floor with a thud, asking, "The hot water's ready. What do you need it for?" Roseways stretches out her legs, looking at him with a commanding air. "I've been walking all day. Wash my feet," she orders. Leon stares at her, stunned. His disbelief turns to frustration as he sighs and removes her heels, thinking, "I'm a dragon slayer, and now I'm reduced to washing a dragon's feet." As he begins, he glances at her feet and wonders how many dragon slayers have been brought low by her. Roseways notices his lingering gaze and narrows her eyes. "What are you thinking?" she asks, her face tinged with suspicion and a faint blush. Before she can press further, Leon smirks mischievously and plunges her feet into the scalding water. "Get down here," he says half-jokingly. Roseways recoils instantly, yelling, "It's too hot, you idiot." She kicks him under the chin, sending him flying back. Leon hits the ground hard, coughing up blood. With an icy glare, Roseways steps on his chest, pinning him down. "You did that on purpose, didn't you?" she accuses, her tone cold. Leon, defiant even under her foot, grins arrogantly. "You're the one who demanded I wash your feet," he retorts. Roseways flushes with a mix of embarrassment and anger. "Seems you still haven't learned your place," she mutters, dragging her foot down his chest. Her voice drops to a teasing whisper, "I bet you never imagined you'd end up beneath a dragon." Pressing her foot firmly against him, she leans in, smirking. "I'm curious, how long can you endure this?" Leon, his face flushed, looks up at her with steely defiance. "I won't give in to a dragon's games," he thinks, steeling himself for whatever comes next. With a swift motion, Leon grabs her leg and stands up with a confident grin. "I've tried pig trotters, cow trotters, goat trotters, but dragon trotters? Now that's a first." Roseways' eyes widen in shock, her face turning crimson. "What are you doing?" she exclaims. Without hesitation, Leon playfully bites her leg. "Tonight's snack, raw dragon claws?" Roseways lets out an enraged scream, threatening to kill him. The next morning, Moon and Noah wake up. Moon is still half asleep, while Noah is already wide awake. When Roseways enters the room with her leg wrapped in bandages, Moon notices and asks, "Mom, why are you limping?" Roseways brushes it off. "It's nothing." Meanwhile, Leon walks in sporting a bandage on his cheek. Moon turns to him curiously, "Dad, why do you have bruises on your face?" Mirroring Roseways' posture, Leon crosses his arms and replies, "It's nothing." Moon places her hands on her hips, staring at them both with suspicion. Suddenly, an idea lights up her face. "You must have been playing a fun game without me," she exclaims, raising her hand excitedly. "I want to play too." Noah, observing her sister's enthusiasm, sighs quietly but says nothing. Later, Leon and Rosewise stroll through the gardens of Silver Dragon Castle. They walk side by side in awkward silence, each lost in thought. A maid nudges her companion and whispers, "Look. The queen and the prince are on a date." The blue-haired maid giggles, adding, "What a lovely couple. Though they do seem a bit distant." Leon glances at Rosewise, finding her behavior unusual. He recalls her suggestion earlier to take a walk together. Shocked he had asked why he needed to. Rosewise had replied it was necessary to maintain the image of family harmony for appearances. Now, as they walk, Leon wonders what Rosewise might be planning. She's rarely this proactive and it leaves him uneasy. Nearby, Moon and Noah hide behind a tree, spying on their parents. Moon mutters to herself, "Dad doesn't even know how to hold hands." Suddenly, determination flashes in her eyes. Clenching her tiny fist, she declares, "I'll help them." Noah, alarmed, tries to stop her. "Wait, Moon," she whispers urgently. But Moon is already running toward their parents. "Mom. Dad." Moon calls out as she approaches. Leon and Rosewise turn startled. Leon begins to ask why Moon followed them, but before he can finish, Moon grabs their hands and links them together. "You're supposed to hold hands when you walk," Moon says cheerfully. Spinning around, she runs off, saying she's going to play with her sister. Leon looks down at his hand in Rosewise, bewildered. Watching Moon leave, he wonders where she learned such things. Back at the tree, Noah pinches Moon's cheeks in frustration. "You didn't listen to me?" Moon, tearing up, promises to behave and asks her sister to let go. Leon and Rosewise continue their walk, still holding hands, their faces flushed. Breaking the silence, Leon looks away awkwardly. "This is unexpected. What should I do?" Rosewise, blushing, softly replies, "It's okay. Just hold my hand for now." As they stroll, Leon remarks, "You're unusually calm today. It's making me nervous." With a smirk, Rosewise teases, "It seems I've finally tamed you. Now you're the one feeling unsettled." From behind a tree, Moon and Noah observe their parents with curious eyes. Leon glances at Rosewise and reflects on how she usually maintains a dignified demeanor as queen. He never expected her to be so flustered by something as simple as holding hands. After a pause, Leon brings up a topic. "Have you noticed how Moon calls me Dad, but she calls you Mother? It feels formal." Rosewise looks away. "Is there really such a big difference between Mother and Mom?" Leon smiles warmly. "There is. Mom feels closer, more affectionate. Maybe it's worth trying." Rosewise hesitates but eventually nods, her expression softening. "All right. I'll think about it." Leon chuckles, expressing it's good. "I bet they'll feel closer to you that way." Rosewise's cheeks turn bright red, caught off guard by Leon's cheerful demeanor. She quickly composes herself, nodding. "I'll try it next time," she says. Leon, noticing her sudden enthusiasm, raises an eyebrow. "Why are you speeding up?" They continue walking in the garden when Rosewise unexpectedly asks, "Do you ever feel homesick?" Leon gives her a skeptical look. "Why bring that up? It's not like you're letting me go back anyway." Rosewise sighs. "I can't send you home, but there's something that might ease your homesickness a little." Intrigued but silent, Leon follows her as she leads him to the large warehouse doors of the castle. Stopping before them, he eyes the doors curiously. "What is this about?" Rosewise gestures to the doors. "It doesn't have an official name. Call it a warehouse, a utility room, or whatever you like." She unlocks the door with a key and guides him inside. As Leon looks around, his eyes widen. "A dragon's treasure trove," he mutters, picking up a bracelet. "If this were in the Empire, it'd easily be worth hundreds of thousands of gold coins." Rosewise explains, "That bracelet was a gift from my grandmother when I was a child. Besides spoils of war, this room holds items that are personally significant to me." Leon looks at her thoughtfully. "I've never heard you talk much about your family, except for your sister." Rosewise's voice softens. "I never met my parents. My sister and I were raised by our grandmother." Surprised, Leon shares, "That's similar to my story. I grew up in an orphanage, never knowing my parents until I was adopted by my master and his wife." He glances at her. "Why bring me here?" Rosewise walks over to a treasure chest and opens it. "I thought this might temporarily help you forget your troubles." Still confused, Leon waits as she lifts the lid. His eyes widen in shock. "The black gold armor?" Rosewise smirks. "Haven't you always wanted to reclaim it?" Leon stares at her in disbelief. "Am I dreaming? Are you really giving it back to me?" Her cunning smile deepens, her eyes glinting mischievously. Yes, she replies. As Leon reaches out to touch the chest plate, a blue light suddenly emanates from it. He freezes, stunned. It's enchanted, with a dragon mark. Internally he thinks, black gold armor, my loyal companion, how did you end up in her hands? Rosewise, still smirking, says slyly, you've finally fallen into my trap. Leon clenches his teeth, glaring at her furiously. It seems another fiery clash between Leon and Rosewise is about to unfold. Leon stood frozen, shocked and confused. What are you planning, Rosewise? He asked, his voice tense. Beneath his feet, a glowing dragon pattern began to emerge, a spell tied to his armor, ready to activate the moment he touched it. Rosewise, her tone brimming with confidence, smirked. I've added a dragon pattern to enhance your armor's properties. Leon's unease deepened. He stumbled, clutching his chest as if in pain, cursing her under his breath. Damn dragon woman! He berated himself for letting his guard down, his body trembling under the spell's effects. Rosewise laughed wickedly. The enhanced dragon pattern has doubled its power, she taunted, leaning close to him. Tell me, my dear dragon slayer, can you endure it? Leon, rendered helpless, murmured her name. Rosewise, before collapsing completely. Unable to move, frustration boiled within him. Damn it, my body won't listen. Rosewise approached, a sly smile playing on her lips. Did you think I'd let go of my grudge so easily after what you did? She asked, her tone both mocking and seductive. She confessed she'd been waiting for this opportunity to take revenge, her determination growing stronger over the past few days. I didn't think it'd be so easy to fool you, she added with a chuckle, watching as Leon silently cursed her. Finally, unable to hold back, Rosewise leaned closer, teasing him with her words and actions. Was my performance convincing? She asked, a playful glint in her eyes. Leon's anger surged. Was everything you said and did up until now a lie? He demanded. Her smile softened. No, she admitted. I haven't lied. My feelings are real. Her voice grew warm as she confessed her affection for him. Removing the barriers between them, Rosewise laughed softly. I guess I like being conquered by you, she declared, addressing him as her husband with finality. Leon lay there, his body exhausted, feeling like a bedridden patient. Yet, amidst the chaos, their feelings finally emerged, transforming the intense moment into one of mutual understanding. Hours later, Leon sighed, relief washing over him. As he looked up, he noticed Rosewise watching him with a content expression. What are you staring at? He snapped, annoyed. Rosewise leaned in, whispering in his ear. Your scars have faded a little, but you look more weathered by life now, a mature man. Unmoved, Leon retorted, you're just trying to trick me again. I'm not falling for it. Rosewise chuckled. You've gotten smarter, Leon. Suspicious, Leon waited as she hesitated mid-sentence, blushing slightly before laughing. Your health isn't what it used to be, she teased. Leon's face went pale, her words cutting deep. His mind raced with wild implications. Asterisk, am I weaker? Less capable? Asterisk, his imagination spiraled until he let out a frustrated scream. The next morning at Silver Dragon Castle, Leon entered a room looking exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. I'm here, he announced. Rosewise, standing with her arms crossed, greeted him. Good morning. Didn't sleep well? Gritting his teeth, Leon glared at her. Because of what you said. Laughing, Rosewise feigned innocence. I don't remember saying anything. From the sidelines, Noah watched the banter unfold, shaking his head. Here they go again. Changing the subject, Rosewise reminded Leon about the strict entrance exam for St. Heath Academy. You should start tutoring Noah on dragon knowledge today, she said, leaning in to whisper. For now, prove your value in other areas. Fueled by anger, Leon shot back. I just wasn't in top shape yesterday. Pointing at her, he declared, I'll make sure Noah passes the test. But I want something of equal value in return. Rosewise smirked. Agreed. But don't ask for too much. A promise is a promise, Leon replied firmly. With a laugh, Rosewise walked away. Then study hard, she called over her shoulder, leaving Leon brimming with determination. With a mocking tone, Rosewise called Leon dear and warned him not to overexert himself. Fueled by anger, Leon shouted after her, that dragon woman is done for. Rosewise waved dismissively as she walked away. Noah, observing the interaction, asked Leon why he always quarreled with her mom. Folding his arms, Leon denied it, claiming it was just their usual way of communicating. Then, surprised, he asked Noah what she had just called Rosewise. "Mom," Noah replied. Taken aback, Leon stepped closer and asked if she had been told to change what she called her. He then inquired whether she preferred the old name or the current one. Noah, looking away with a slight blush, admitted she liked the current one. Leon beamed at her, saying he had a feeling they'd come to love it. Surprised by her father's cheerful demeanor, Noah remained silent, simply observing him. As she turned to leave, she asked when they could start studying. Caught off guard, Leon called out to her, telling her to wait. In the heart of Silver Dragon Castle, the night stretched on in eerie silence. But in the children's study room, a lone light flickered. Leon sat hunched over his desk, his eyes locked on ancient Dragon Clan tomes, deeply engrossed in thought. The rest of the castle had long succumbed to sleep, including the children. Yet, amidst the quiet, Roseweiss entered the room. Spotting Leon still buried in his books, she raised an eyebrow. "You're still awake?" she asked, her voice a mix of surprise and pride. Leon didn't look up, tapping his temple with a pen as if piecing together a complex puzzle. Noah's quick to grasp concepts, he muttered, half to himself and half to Roseweiss. Typical teaching methods won't cut it for her. "I need to design an entire curriculum. Key concepts, test questions. Looks like I'm pulling an all-nighter." Rosweiss's lips curled into a proud smile as she glanced at their sleeping daughter. Lifting her chin with an almost regal air, she said, "Naturally. After all, Noah takes after me." Leon smirked, finally meeting her gaze. "Does she though?" he challenged, a glint of mischief in his eyes. Standing tall, Leon stretched dramatically, crossing his arms with exaggerated flair. "I was the top dragon-slaying genius every year, you know. Top of my class, undefeated in field training, awarded every scholarship. The school ran out of ways to praise me," he declared, tossing her a smirk as if daring her to top his claim. Leaning forward with playful taunt, he added, "So, Your Majesty, what were your accomplishments?" For once, Roseweiss faltered. Her dragon-slaying record and military prowess were unmatched, but academics? She hesitated, realizing she might have underestimated Leon's intellect. With a disdainful smirk, she countered, "So powerful, yet still my captive, aren't you?" Leon's face darkened. "Damn it, I only lost once," he retorted, his pride visibly stung. A dragon slayer of his caliber, defeated by none other than the Silver Dragon Queen herself. Now he was stuck, a tiger in the plains, constantly at her mercy. Slumping back in his chair, Leon muttered bitterly, "One mistake and now I'm trapped. A tiger bullied by a dragon." Roseweiss, smiling smugly, leaned closer. Her voice dripped with sarcasm as she asked, "Afraid of being ridden by a dragon, are you?" Her gaze shifted, landing on a pile of bright yellow peppers. Arching an eyebrow, she asked, "What are you doing with these?" Leon blinked as if noticing them for the first time. "Those? Brought them from the kitchen to help me stay awake." Rosweiss's expression shifted from confusion to concern. "Those are Dragon Clan yellow peppers. You're human, you can't." But it was too late. Leon had already popped one into his mouth, chewing confidently, for about 2 seconds. His face turned crimson, his eyes bulged and he gasped, "So spicy." He darted around the room, patting his face and frantically searching for water. Roseweiss, torn between concern and amusement, shook her head. Stepping forward, she caught his face in her cool hands. Their eyes met and both froze. Leon's cheeks blazed, though perhaps not entirely from the pepper. Roseweiss quickly looked away, clearing her throat. "My hands are cool," she said casually, though her voice betrayed her composure. "It might help." As her fingers rested on his flushed cheeks, Leon's panic melted into an unexpected calm. Her touch was soothing, calming the fiery sting of the pepper in a way that was gentle, not jarring. Leon closed his eyes, letting the coolness of her fingertips ease the burn, which slowly began to fade. Despite himself, he felt an unexpected sense of comfort in the simple gesture. "Thank you," he murmured, reluctantly pulling away, though the warmth on his cheeks lingered, now mixed with an undeniable blush. Ross dropped her hands and stepped back, her expression unreadable as she turned to leave. "Get some rest and don't eat the peppers again," she said, her sarcasm slipping in as she moved toward the door. Leon nodded, muttering a half-hearted, yeah, got it," though his gaze lingered on her retreating figure. When she was gone, he groaned, fanning his flushed face. The memory of her touch seemed almost hotter than the pepper itself. Yet, reality quickly intruded as he recalled her usual treatment. Crossing his arms, he muttered to himself, "Squeezes you dry and then blames your lack of endurance when you can barely stand." Scowling, he shook his head. "You can't go soft on her or you'll end up bedridden." Determined, Leon grabbed a book and began flipping through its pages, his eyes lighting up as he stumbled across something promising. Black Dragon Pill, he read aloud, excitement bubbling in his voice. A highly effective body-strengthening elixir that nourishes and stabilizes the core. Jackpot? A grin spread across his face as he studied the entry like it was a treasure map. With renewed resolve, he began making plans to improve his resilience. The next morning, sunlight poured through the windows, and outside, a small yellow bird chirped animatedly to a larger white one perched nearby. Inside, however, the atmosphere was far from cheerful. Leon sat across from his daughter, Noah, holding back a grin as he reviewed her test. "I just finished grading your test," he said, trying to keep a straight face. "Out of a possible 100 points, want to guess what you got?" Noah fixed him with her usual deadpan stare, her expression unreadable. 50? Leon snorted, pulling the test paper out with dramatic flair. "A whole 62 actually. You underestimated yourself?" Noah's eyes narrowed as she scanned the paper, her small hands tightening slightly around it. Her furrowed brows revealed her displeasure with the score. Leon softened as he watched her, noticing her serious demeanor. She was mature beyond her years, reminding him more of Ross than her younger sister Moon, who was likely outside chasing butterflies or counting clouds. Reaching out, Leon ruffled Noah's hair gently. "For a first try, 62 is pretty impressive, kid." Noah glanced up at him, her cheeks faintly coloring at the rare compliment. "Thanks," she mumbled, a touch of pride creeping into her usually stoic tone. Just as Leon leaned in to encourage her further, a sudden coughing fit overtook him. Turning away, he rubbed his throat with a wince. "Sorry about that," he croaked, his voice rasping. His throat burned, a sharp reminder of the yellow dragon clan peppers he'd foolishly eaten the night before. "Why did I think wake-up peppers were a good idea?" he thought, grimacing. Noah's expression shifted as though something had clicked. She rummaged in her pocket and produced a small tin, holding it out to him. "Dragon throat lozenges," it read in elegant script. Leon blinked in surprise. "Is this for me?" Noah's face remained stoic, but a flicker of embarrassment crossed her eyes. "Mom said to give it to you," she said, her tone slightly cooler, as though distancing herself from the gesture. Leon grinned, popping a lozenge into his mouth. The soothing mint immediately eased the irritation in his throat. "Well, tell your mom thanks for me," he said, giving Noah a knowing look. Like mother, like daughter, he mused. Cold on the outside, but with small gestures of warmth when no one's watching. As the lozenge melted away, Leon felt his energy return. Turning back to Noah, he said, "Now, where were we?" Noah's gaze sharpened, her serious side returning. "You said we'd go over the questions I got wrong?" Leon chuckled, pride welling up as he saw her determination. "Right you are, Noah." In the kitchen of the Silver Dragon Castle, Leon engages in an enigmatic task. Maids, responding to his precise instructions, deliver the requested items with seamless efficiency. One addresses him as Lord Prince, informing him that all the herbs have been delivered. With a nod, Leon directs them to place everything in a specific spot on the table. They comply, arranging the ingredients as instructed before quietly leaving the room. Leon, with a subtle, knowing smile, reflects on his strategy of ordering extra herbs to keep his intentions concealed. He examines the herbs closely, identifying them as the components needed to prepare the Dragon Great Force, a seemingly straightforward concoction, yet one fraught with challenges. The ancient manual he references warns that even the most skilled Dragon Clan pharmacists achieve low success rates with this process. Undeterred, Leon begins his work. He recites the steps from memory, meticulously grinding and mixing the herbs before adding them to a pot in a precise sequence. Hours pass as he labors with unwavering focus, but frustration builds when his efforts end in failure once again. With a loud, anguished scream, Leon laments the ruined concoction, staring at the charred remnants. He mutters about the difficulty of achieving the final purification and separation step, despite following the manual's instructions perfectly. Leon reflects on the delicate balance required in the high-temperature separation method described in the book. A temperature too high destroys the drug, while one too low renders purification impossible. Frustration mounting, he shakes the jar of remnants, grumbling about the near impossibility of achieving precision without professional tools. However, recalling his master's advice to seek alternative approaches, he begins considering new methods to separate the medicinal residue. As thunder roars outside, Leon notices the turbulent sky and remarks on the impending rain, the storm reflecting the brewing determination within him. As Leon rises to close the windows, The rumble of thunder captivates him, stirring a distant memory. The sound draws his thoughts to the interplay of lightning and thunder, triggering a revelation. His teacher's words from an alchemy lesson resurface. Electrolysis of impurities could sometimes yield better results than fire-based methods. Inspired, Leon's eyes light up with newfound determination as he wonders if the thunder element could be harnessed for separation, a method absent from the ancient manual. Leon's mind races with possibilities. Lightning magic, his specialty, may hold the key to refining the dragon great force. Though his powers are still recovering from the forbidden technique he used on Rosweiss, he believes the magic he has regained will be sufficient for this delicate process. Setting aside the traditional methods, Leon channels a steady flow of lightning energy, guiding it carefully into the mixture. Sparks dance in the air as he manipulates the process with absolute precision. After half an hour of meticulous effort, Leon steps back and takes in the result. A triumphant smile spreads across his face. It worked. He succeeded in refining the dragon great force. As the storm outside continues to rage, Leon savors the quiet victory within the castle kitchen. Placing the medicine in a small box, he remarks to himself how surprisingly simple the Dragon Clan's medicine is to create. Just then Muon, his cheerful daughter, bursts into the kitchen, her curious eyes immediately spotting the small chocolate-like object in Leon's hand. Tilting her head, she asks with innocent curiosity, "Dad, what are you making?" Leon glances at her, momentarily startled. Casually he replies, "It's something good." But as her sweet voice fully registers, he pauses, staring at her in silent thought. Muon, undeterred by his vague answer, looks up at him expectantly, her enthusiasm unshaken. Realizing her presence, Leon snaps out of his reverie. "Muon," he exclaims, surprised. Quickly closing the box, he pats her head with a reassuring smile. "It's nothing really," he says. But Muon's curiosity doesn't waver. "Is it candy?" she asks, her eyes flicking to the box in his hand, her excitement growing. Leon chuckles softly, shaking his head at Muon's curiosity. Holding up the closed box, he explains with a warm smile, "It's not candy, it's medicine. Something I made for your mom." Muon's cheerful demeanor shifts to concern as her brows knit. "Medicine? Is Mom sick?" she asks, her voice laced with worry. Leon kneels to her level, gently patting her head. No, he reassures her, his tone soothing. "Your mom has just been very busy lately, so I thought I'd make something to help nourish her. Don't worry, okay?" While Muon seems reassured, Leon smirks inwardly at his own misdirection, thinking to himself, "Actually, this is for me. I'll need it to recover properly." Muon, still earnest, gazes at him and declares, "Dad, you have to take good care of Mom, okay?" Leon's smile softens as he responds warmly, "Of course. That's what a dad should do." Yet beneath his calm exterior, his thoughts take a mischievous turn. Concealing a darker expression, he muses, "Once I'm fully recovered, I'll definitely take very good care of her," letting out a quiet chuckle. Later that stormy night, with heavy rain and rolling thunder echoing outside, Leon sits in his bedroom, absently tossing the medicine box in his hand. Despite his success in refining the Dragon Great Force, doubts linger in his mind. He wonders if the Dragon Clan's nutritional supplements might have unforeseen effects on humans. Catching the box mid-air, he frowns and mutters to himself that it's best to set it aside for now. Suddenly, Rosweiss appears, her expression one of surprise mixed with incredulity. She seems skeptical that Leon could produce medicine in such a basic environment. With her usual air of superiority, she extends her hand, demanding in a commanding tone, "What did you refine? Let me see it." Leon hesitates, gripping the box tightly. Meeting her gaze, he sighs, finally handing it over. "Even if I refused, you'd just resort to violence and take it anyway," he mutters, exasperation evident in his voice. Rosweiss takes the box and examines its contents closely. A faint smile graces her lips as she observes the Dragon Great Force. "Impressive," she remarks. "You've managed to refine a perfect Dragon Great Force under these conditions. Truly remarkable, Leon." "What's that saying? The man of letters and the man of arms?" Leon blinks in surprise, marveling internally at her reaction. She didn't mock me this time? With a sharp click, Rosweiss closes the box and hands it back to him. "You can keep this," she states firmly, "but you can't take it." Confused, Leon catches the box, his brows furrowing. "Why not?" he asks, his tone puzzled. Rosweiss locks eyes with Leon, her expression firm and unwavering. She explains that the medicine designed for the dragon race is far too potent for a human body to endure. Leon's frown deepens, his dark expression mirroring his rising skepticism. Is it really that powerful? He questions, his tone laced with doubt. But her serious demeanor doesn't falter. Yes, it is, she responds. As a human, you cannot withstand its effects. Her voice softens slightly, almost as if trying to dissuade him. Yet Leon's pride surges. With a defiant smirk, he pulls the dragon great force from the box. I've defeated countless dragon kings without the power of a dragon, he boasts arrogantly. Why would I fear a single pill? Alarm flashes in Ross Weiss's eyes as Leon swallows the pill without hesitation. Leon, she shouts, her voice filled with concern, but he only grins defiantly. Courage is the hymn of mankind, he declares boldly. The pill's effects strike instantly. A torrent of power floods Leon's body, overwhelming him. His heightened senses teeter on the brink of chaos as agony overtakes him. Collapsing to his knees, he clutches his chest, his face contorted in pain. You reckless fool! Ross Weiss yells, her anger mixing with worry. Do you know how rarely I use healing magic? Without hesitation, she rushes to his side, attempting to cast a spell to stabilize him. Let me try to break down the pill's effects, she urges urgently. But Leon, fueled by sheer determination, shakes his head. His darkened gaze meets hers as he grabs her hand, halting her mid-spell. Leon, don't move, she pleads, her voice rising in alarm, but her words are drowned out. A violent storm erupts from Leon's body, thunder booming and lightning crackling wildly. The raw energy engulfs him entirely, illuminating the room in bursts of searing light. Despite the agony ripping through him, Leon's voice cuts through the chaos, steady and resolute. Ross Weiss, he growls, his eyes burning with unyielding determination. Look carefully. His gaze locks with hers, his resolve unshaken. This is the courage and determination of mankind. Ross Weiss protests, but it's too late. Leon endures the excruciating effects of the dragon great force alone. Lightning dances around his body, the storm intensifying as thunder roars. His screams echo through the small space, a testament to the unbearable pain. Pushed away earlier, Ross Weiss can do nothing but watch, horror and awe warring in her mind. As she stares, realization dawns. Leon isn't just enduring, he's using his lightning magic on himself. Her disbelief grows as she tries to comprehend his reckless yet brilliant strategy. Minutes stretch into what feels like an eternity. Finally, Leon stops channeling his lightning magic. The raging storm begins to subside, leaving the room eerily quiet. His body still crackles faintly with residual energy, his figure illuminated by the dying sparks. Ross Weiss stands frozen, her eyes wide as she watches him. Leon has survived, his indomitable spirit etched in every labored breath. Leon's body gives in to the overwhelming strain, and he collapses to the ground. Leon? Ross Weiss cries out, rushing to catch him before he falls. Her voice is laced with genuine concern as she gently eases him into a lying position. With a careful hand, she brushes stray strands of hair from his face, her expression a mix of exasperation and worry. Gazing down at his unconscious form, she mutters softly, "You really are a madman." Despite her irritated words, a subtle tenderness underlies her tone. Standing, she casts one last glance at him before turning sharply. "Wait here," she says firmly, "I'll get the court physician." But before she can take another step, a faint, hoarse voice stops her in her tracks. "Ross Weiss," Leon calls out weakly, his voice barely audible. She spins around, shock etched across her face. His eyes flutter open, flushed red and glassy, a dazed and unusual expression overtaking his features. Before she can ask how he's feeling, Leon's hand reaches out toward her. Startled, Ross Weiss instinctively freezes. Suddenly, his hand grabs her tail. "What?" she gasps, her eyes wide with disbelief. She's caught completely off guard as Leon, smiling with an almost goofy, childlike grin, holds her tail tightly. "How on earth are you even awake?" she demands, her voice a mixture of confusion and embarrassment. Leon, ignoring her protests, clumsily sits up, his movements unsteady but determined. A deep blush spreads across his face as he presses his cheek against her tail, a soft giggle escaping his lips. "My wife," he murmurs affectionately, his voice hazy with delirium. "Where are you going?" Ross Weiss' face flushes crimson. "Who do you think you're calling your wife?" she stammers, struggling to maintain her composure. She tugs at her tail in an attempt to free herself. "Let go of my tail, you idiot," she demands, her voice trembling with frustration. But Leon tightens his grip, refusing to let go. His smile widens as he rubs his cheek against her tail again, sighing contentedly. I don't want to, he says softly. I won't let go. I won't let my wife go. Despite her growing irritation, Ross Weiss realizes she can't overpower him in his current state. Leon clings to her tail with childlike delight, humming a whimsical wife tune as he continues to nuzzle her tail. Exasperation floods Ross Weiss' face as she lets out a long sigh, finally ceasing her futile attempts to break free. Her patience thins and she silently admits defeat. Turning her gaze away, she begins analyzing the situation to regain her composure. The dragon great force enhances physical strength and endurance, she thinks, trying to rationalize his bizarre behavior. Meanwhile, Leon continues his antics, utterly oblivious to the chaos he's causing, his grin as wide as ever. The effects of the medicine puzzle Ross Weiss. It shouldn't cause unconsciousness or such bizarre behavior, she thinks, her mind drifting to Leon's earlier use of lightning magic. Could his manipulation of the lightning element have interfered with or amplified the medicine's effects? These thoughts race through her mind until her gaze returns to Leon, who is still humming cheerfully with his face pressed against her tail. Her cheeks flush as she takes in the absurd sight. Idiot, she mutters under her breath, tinged with embarrassment. Despite his strange antics, Ross Weiss reassures herself that he's not in any immediate danger. Leon, oblivious to her flustered state, continues his marrying wife tune. She exhales deeply, realizing there's no reasoning with him in this state. Resigning herself, she looks down at him and says, All right, I'm here. What's wrong? Just tell me already. Leon pauses, his humming stopping abruptly, and looks up at her with a flushed face and childlike excitement in his eyes. Boldly he calls her wife again, his expression mischievous. Then, without hesitation, he declares with a grin, I want a second child. Ross Weiss freezes, her face flushing a deep red. His sudden declaration leaves her speechless for a moment, a chill running down her spine as she struggles to maintain her composure. Her glare intensifies as her blush deepens. You haven't even properly taken care of the 2 children from my first pregnancy, she snaps, crossing her arms. And now you're already asking for another one? Forget it. But Leon remains undeterred, his grip on her tail firm as he rolls on the bed with exaggerated whines. I want a second child, he insists, his tone almost pleading. Come on, Ross Weiss, is it really such a bad idea? Frustration bubbling, Ross Weiss pinches the bridge of her nose. What did I do to deserve this? She wonders silently, weighing her options. Realizing reasoning with him might make things worse, she exhales and mutters, Fine. Not just a second child. We'll have a third and a fourth too if it'll shut you up. Leon's eyes light up like a child promised his favorite treat. With a triumphant grin, he exclaims, Really? Then you have to come back to my hometown with me. Yeah, Ross Weiss replies, waving him off with a tired look. We'll go back once everything is settled here. Finally releasing her tail, Leon leaps to his feet, cheering loudly. That's amazing. You're the best, Ross Weiss. Watching him, Ross Weiss shakes her head, caught between exasperation and amusement. He's even more irritating than usual today, she thinks, though a faint smile creeps onto her face. Suddenly, Leon leans in close, his grin widening. My wife is the best, he declares boldly. Before Ross Weiss can react, he moves forward, clearly intending to plant a kiss on her cheek. Caught off guard, Ross Weiss's eyes widen in shock. Reacting instinctively, she presses her hand firmly against Leon's face, pushing him away with decisive force. No taking advantage of the situation, she thinks, trying to maintain control despite the absurdity of it all. Internally, Ross Weiss struggles to make sense of Leon's bizarre behavior, her thoughts racing as she anxiously wonders how long the effects of the dragon force will persist. But as Leon stubbornly continues his antics, her patience snaps. With a swift punch to his face, she calls him an idiot, the blow landing squarely. Leon lets out a small yelp, stumbling from the impact. Ross Weiss crosses her arms, glaring at him with frustration that barely masks her internal guilt for losing control. Leon, clutching his chest with exaggerated dramatics, groans in mock agony, only for Ross Weiss's irritation to shift quickly to panic. She rushes to his side, kneeling down, her voice laced with concern. Are you okay, you fool? She asks, her gaze scanning him for any serious injury. Leon's breathing grows heavy, his teeth gritted as he clutches his chest tighter. Wife, he groans weakly, I feel really uncomfortable. Suddenly, a bright light emanates from the dragon mark on Ross Weiss's chest, catching her completely off guard. Her eyes widen in alarm as she mutters, This isn't good, her heart racing with apprehension. Without hesitation she unbuttons Leon's shirt to inspect him. The moment the fabric parts, the dragon mark on his chest begins to glow with an intense, otherworldly light. Ross Weiss's brow furrows in confusion and rising dread. Why is the dragon pattern activating now of all times? She wonders, her mind scrambling for an explanation. Before she can piece it together, Leon's hands suddenly grip her shoulders with surprising strength, startling her. In one swift motion he pushes her onto the bed, pinning her down. "Leon?" Ross Weiss shouts, a mix of anger and alarm in her voice. "You bastard! What are you doing?" Leon's breath is ragged, his flushed face drenched in sweat as though burning with fever. His desperate gaze locks onto hers. "Wife," he whispers hoarsely, I feel so hot all over. My chest, it itches." Ross Weiss's cheeks burn crimson at their close proximity, her heart pounding uncontrollably as she glares at him. Grinding her teeth, her mind works frantically. The dragon pattern combined with the lightning element, it's heightened his instincts, she realizes with dread. It's fueling his desire to reproduce. Before she can react, Leon's gaze shifts and his eyes land on her tail. Without warning he grabs it, pulling it closer. Ross Weiss freezes, completely stunned as Leon leans in and sniffs it, his expression dreamy and dazed. "Leon," she snaps, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and embarrassment. "Let go of my tail right now." But Leon only tightens his grip, his face blissful as he mutters, "It smells so nice, so soft, wife." Ross Weiss's composure starts to unravel, her expression torn between fury and disbelief. If this keeps up, I might actually lose control, she thinks nervously. Determined to put an end to his antics, she presses her hand against his face again, this time with more force, trying to push him away. "Leon, stop it," she commands, her tone firm and sharp. Her patience wears thin, but her resolve to contain the situation remains unyielding. Ross Weiss's tail drags along the ground throughout the day, a fact she brings up with a sharp question. "Doesn't that disgust you?" But Leon remains unyielding, his stubborn nature refusing to relent. Despite her efforts to push him away, his hands cling tightly to her. As she continues scolding him, Leon suddenly places a finger gently on her lips, cutting her off mid-sentence. Startled, Ross Weiss freezes, her breath catching in her throat. Her eyes widen as she stares at him, uncertain and uncharacteristically speechless. Leon's gaze deepens, his expression carrying an intensity she's never seen before. "Malif," he says softly, addressing her by her first name, a rare and startling gesture. "You're so beautiful tonight." The unexpected compliment sends a wave of heat rushing to Ross Weiss's face, her cheeks glowing crimson. She turns her head away to escape his piercing gaze, her voice faltering as she stammers, "Even if you say that, I'm still mad at you." Her mind races. What's going on? She wonders, her heart pounding wildly. This man, his demeanor is completely different. There's something wild and intense about him tonight, something I can't seem to reject. Despite her internal protests, Ross Weiss feels her resolve beginning to falter. She sneaks a quick glance at him and finds his fiery gaze still locked onto her. A faint, unbidden sense of anticipation flickers within her. Sensing her hesitation, Leon leans closer, his voice dropping to a low, persuasive whisper. "Wife, can you help me please?" Ross Weiss bites her lip, torn between frustration and the turmoil of her emotions. Finally, with her face still flushed, she mutters, "Fine, but just tonight." Triumph flashes in Leon's eyes as he pulls her into his arms. The night stretches on, filled with an undeniable intensity that lingers even as dawn breaks. The next morning, in the grand chambers of the Silver Dragon Castle, Leon stirs awake, the effects of the dragon force finally fading. As his vision clears, he spots Ross Weiss lying beside him, her smirk both teasing and confident. "Awake, are we?" she asks in a playful tone, her piercing gaze fixed on him. Hearing her voice so close, Leon jolts upright, panic flashing in his eyes. "Ross Weiss," he exclaims. "Why are you in my bed?" His abrupt movement sends a wave of pain through his body, causing him to wince as he clutches his aching muscles. "Everything hurts," he groans, rubbing his temples. "My memory is fragmented. What the hell happened last night?" Ross Weiss stretches languidly before slipping out of bed, her smirk growing wider. She turns to face him with an air of feigned innocence. "You don't remember anything?" she asks lightly, though the glint in her eyes betrays her amusement. Pointing to the faint bruises and marks on her arms and neck, she tilts her head slightly. "Dragon Slayer," she says, her tone dripping with irony, "surely you didn't forget, right?" Leon's eyes widen further as he notices the marks on her skin. His shock deepens, leaving him struggling to piece together the chaotic fragments of the previous night. Leon's mind spirals as he spots the numerous marks on his body, his thoughts racing. A cold sweat beads on his forehead. Nikki's? So many? The realization hits him like a thunderbolt. Did I really do that? Suddenly, fragmented memories from the previous night begin to surface, each one more vivid than the last. Clutching his head, he watches as the scattered pieces fall into place. The full picture forms, and with it, a horrified scream escapes his lips. Ross Weiss, leaning casually against the bed frame, folds her arms and smirks. So, you do remember, she teases, her tone laced with amusement. You begged me last night, Leon. Said things like, Connie, just one more time, okay? Wife, I feel so bad. Please help me just this once and the last time, asterisk. Leon's face turns crimson as she mimics his desperate tone. Stop it, he yells, covering his ears in a futile attempt to drown out her words. I remember everything. There's no need to repeat it. Ross Weiss's smirk only grows wider as she watches him squirm, clearly savoring his discomfort. Meanwhile, Leon hurriedly pulls on his shirt, sneaking a side glance at her. His internal monologue is filled with regret. All I wanted was to refine the dragon force for my health. Maybe teach her a small lesson. How did it turn into this? As Ross Weiss finishes dressing, Leon lets out a heavy sigh, his gaze briefly meeting hers. Maybe I went a little too far last night? He mutters under his breath. Hesitantly he asks, did I hurt you? Ross Weiss shakes her head, her demeanor calm. It's fine, she replies, dismissing his concern effortlessly. Leon, folding his arms and trying to regain his composure, adopts a smug expression. Well, now you should know whether I'm in good health or not. Next time, don't go doubting my abilities. Ross Weiss's eyes narrow sharply, her gaze piercing through him. Her sudden seriousness makes Leon shift uncomfortably. What's with that look? He stammers, taking a cautious step back. Without warning, Ross Weiss closes the gap between them, her expression unwavering. Before Leon can react, she grabs his chin, leaning in close. Her commanding tone is firm and unapologetic. Dragon Slayer, I must say, I'm very satisfied with your performance last night. I hope you can keep it up in the future. Leon freezes, his face burning red as her words sink in. Internally his thoughts erupt. What is happening? Have I somehow become her personal servant now? Ross Weiss steps back, her usual smirk returning as though nothing had happened. Casually she changes the subject. Now, about that bet, she says, her tone light. The mention of the bet jolts Leon from his daze. His eyes narrow with suspicion as he studies her carefully. The bet? He echoes, attempting to mask his nervousness. A faint blush colors Ross Weiss's cheeks as she glances away, the brief display of vulnerability catching Leon slightly off guard. Ross Weiss reminded Leon of the moment he had insisted that the children call her Mom, claiming it would deepen their affection for her. She acknowledged, with a soft chuckle, that he had won that argument. Leon raised an eyebrow, a flicker of pride lighting up his face, though he remained silent. Her tone softened as she addressed him. So, have you thought about the request you'd like to make? She asked, curious. Leon hesitated, scratching the back of his head, before responding with an unusual sincerity. Actually, I have. I'd like you to send someone to the Empire to check on my master and his wife. I need to know if they're doing okay. Ross Weiss's playful demeanor faded as she considered his request thoughtfully. Silver dragons aren't exactly known for stealth, but visiting someone isn't an issue, she replied calmly. Leon's face lit up with joy. You're really okay with it? He asked, his enthusiasm momentarily breaking through his composure. Catching himself, he straightened up, cleared his throat, and shifted to a formal tone. Thank you for your help, he added sincerely. Later, in the Silver Dragon Castle's garden, Leon sat on a bench, his pale and weary face betraying his fatigue. Little Muin approached him, her wide, curious eyes fixed on him. Dad, are you sick? She asked innocently, her voice filled with concern. Leon jolted at her question, his nervousness making him wave his hands in denial. What? No, of course not. Why would you say that? He blurted out. Muin giggled, her sweet laughter carrying through the garden. Mom told me, she said confidently. She said you took medicine yesterday. And she said men can never admit when they're sick. Hearing her words, Leon's face darkened. Gritting his teeth, he fumed internally. That meddling female dragon, how could she say that to a child? Do I even have any dignity left? Muin tilted her head, her expression turning to genuine concern. But you still don't look well, Dad. Is it because the medicine didn't work? Or maybe you didn't take enough of it? Leon let out a sigh, crouching down to meet her gaze. Placing his hands gently on her small shoulders, he said, Muin, it's rude to ask too many questions. Before he could steer the conversation away, Muin gasped, her eyes wide with fear. Dad, your mouth is bleeding, she cried. Clinging to him tightly, tears welled up in her eyes as she pleaded, Dad, I can't live without you. Please don't die. Leon's heart softened at her words. Smiling warmly, he patted her head gently. Daddy's really fine, Muin. I promise I'm doing just fine. He reassured her with a soothing tone, easing her fears. As Leon looks into Muin's bright, innocent eyes, he can't help but notice how much she resembles her mother, Ross Weiss. Her cheeky persistence, sharp wit, and lively expressions mirror her mother's traits perfectly. But this time, Leon decides he needs to stay ahead of her cleverness. No mercy. Kneeling down, he asks her with a playful tone, How about Daddy makes you a new toy today? The mention of a toy immediately fills Muin with excitement. Her eyes sparkle as she jumps up and down, clapping her hands. Yes, I love toys the most, Daddy, she exclaims, her enthusiasm infectious. Leon smiles at her joy and promises, All right then, I'll make you something special. After some thought, he decides to craft a Rubik's Cube, a toy from his own childhood. Determined, he sits down and begins working, using his alchemical skills and mechanical knowledge to carefully design the cube. Each face is painted with vibrant, cheerful colors, and once the paint dries, he proudly holds up his creation. Presenting it to Muin, he explains, This is called a Rubik's Cube. You can twist it however you like. Want to give it a try? Muin's wide-eyed amazement is immediate. She eagerly takes the cube, examining it closely before twisting its sides. As she figures out its mechanics, her delighted smile warms Leon's heart. Watching her, Leon muses to himself, Who knew those alchemy mechanics lessons would be useful for babysitting? Maybe I was born to be a babysitter after all. But as the thought amuses him, a sudden unease creeps in. His smile fades and his expression grows serious. Turning sharply, he scans his surroundings, his senses on high alert. Muin notices his sudden shift and tilts her head curiously. Daddy, what's wrong? She asks, still clutching the Rubik's Cube. Leon hesitates for a moment before smiling to reassure her. It's nothing, sweetheart. Just thought I saw something, he replies calmly. Yet deep down he knows it's more than that. Moments ago, he felt a faint but unmistakable sensation, the presence of the dragon's gaze. His instincts tell him the sensation is coming from the direction of Noah's training grounds. He wonders if Noah, with her stubborn and independent nature, will ever decide to join them. As the thought lingers, he resolves to extend a gesture of connection by making a Rubik's Cube for her as well. Later that night, as the Silver Dragon Castle falls silent and Muin sleeps soundly in her room, Noah returns to her own quarters with her usual composed demeanor. Her sharp gaze immediately lands on the Rubik's Cube placed on her desk, accompanied by a handwritten note from Leon. Noah picks up the note with mild curiosity, reading its contents in Leon's familiar handwriting. This is a toy for you, Noah. Your task is to figure out how to solve it. Think of it as a little challenge. Scoffing, she mutters to herself, What an idiot. I don't have time for children's toys. Yet, despite her dismissive words, her fingers instinctively twist the sides of the Rubik's Cube, her movements precise and controlled. As she continues, a faint blush rises on her cheeks. Clutching the cube tightly, she whispers softly, Thank you, Dad. To her, the toy isn't just a puzzle, it's a rare and treasured gesture of affection from her father, something deeply meaningful. Carefully, Noah tucks the Rubik's Cube into a small wooden box hidden beneath her bed, a personal collection she fondly calls her treasure box. Inside are fragments of their father's black and gold armor, a nameplate engraved with Noah Kane Melkvi in Leon's hand, and now the cube itself. Unbeknownst to Noah, her younger sister, Moan, has been quietly observing from the doorway. Intrigued, Moan muses to herself, Sister's been acting strange lately. Always hiding things in that box. What could it be? Later, as Noah steps out of the room, Moan seizes her chance. Crawling under the bed with a mischievous grin, she whispers, Detective Moan is on the case. With great excitement, she retrieves the wooden box and opens it. Her eyes widen in surprise as she examines its contents. The armor fragments, the Rubik's Cube, the engraved nameplate. They're all connected to Dad, she says aloud, her face lighting up in understanding. So that's why she's been so secretive. Without a word, she ties Moan up, silences her with a cloth and reclaims her treasure box. Leaning down to the struggling Moan, Noah smirks and says, "No peeking. Got it?" Meanwhile, far from this sibling clash at St. Heath Academy, an elite institution of the Dragon Clan, the standards for student admission remain uncompromising. The academy not only evaluates individual potential but also prioritizes family harmony and adherence to dragon ideals. Believing that only a loving and harmonious family can raise a dragon to embody proper virtues, St. Heath only admits students from such backgrounds. To maintain the perfect image of a united dragon family, the Silver Dragon Queen Rosweiss devises a plan: a family outing to Sky City, complete with a picture-perfect family photo. Sky City, the vibrant heart of the dragon realm, buzzes with life as parent dragons playfully interact with their young. Against the lively backdrop, Rosweiss arrives in her majestic dragon form. Her family follows, captivated by her regal presence. Descending gracefully, Rosweiss lands and her youngest daughter, Muin, full of playful energy, gleefully slides down her mother's back. Below, Leon stands ready, his arms outstretched. "Slow down, Muin. I'll catch you," he calls out. With perfect timing, he catches her mid-slide, holding her securely. "Gotcha," he says warmly, lifting her effortlessly into the air. Nearby, Noah watches the scene in silence, her arms crossed and her expression calm, observing the familial exchange with her characteristic composure. Rosweiss, now back on the ground, transforms smoothly into her human form, her movements poised and dignified. Curious as ever, Muin looks up at her father. "Daddy, why didn't you turn into a dragon just now? I really want to see you as a dragon." The unexpected question catches Leon off guard. His confident smile falters as he laughs nervously, scratching the back of his head. Panic rises within him. "Dear daughter, Daddy's great at slaying dragons but turning into one? You'd better forget about it," he thinks to himself. Before he can offer a response, Noah's sharp gaze fixes on him. Her voice cold and cutting, she asks, "So, is it that you can't transform? Or you won't?" Her words hit their mark, leaving Leon visibly uneasy. He looks between Noah and Rosweiss, searching for support but finds none. Sensing the tension, Rosweiss intervenes with a reassuring smile. "Your father's body hasn't fully recovered yet, so he can't transform into a dragon for the time being," she explains calmly. She then promises the children that once Leon is better, he'll show them his transformation. Muin's expression turns serious as she looks up at Leon with concern. "Daddy, you have to get better soon," she says earnestly. Leon pats her head, smiling warmly. "I'll do my best, Muin," he replies, though inwardly, his thoughts are far less optimistic. Rosweiss redirects the moment. "All right everyone, let's head into town. We have things to do today." Bursting with excitement, Muin dashes ahead, her eyes wide with wonder. "Noah, look. There are so many dragons here," she exclaims joyfully. Noah, maintaining her steady composure, follows behind at a measured pace. "Slow down, Muin. Don't run off too fast," she cautions. As the two sisters move through the bustling streets, their presence draws the attention of the dragon citizens. Many pause, their gazes filled with curiosity and admiration as they take in the siblings, marveling at their striking presence amid the lively crowd. Rosweiss and Leon walk behind their daughters as the lively streets of Sky City hum with activity. Leon's expression darkens and his body trembles faintly. Though silent, his unease does not escape Rosweiss's sharp perception. She notices his trembling and thinks, is he shaking? She quickly pieces it together. It must be his first time seeing so many dragons since awakening from his coma. Leaning in with a teasing smirk, she whispers, "Are you scared, Leon?" At first, Leon remains silent, his face still clouded, but suddenly his demeanor shifts. His eyes flash with arrogance and he retorts, "Who's scared? You must be joking." Puffing out his chest dramatically, he points at the dragon citizens around them. "I'm excited, Rosweiss. Can't you tell?" he declares with exaggerated confidence. "Do you know what I see? First-class merits, second-class merits, third-class merits, merits everywhere. The streets are practically paved with gold. I'm going to get rich." Completely unfazed by their reactions, he whistles casually and strides forward with a self-satisfied grin. Rosweiss pinches the bridge of her nose, exhaling in exasperation. I worried about him for no reason. Again, she thinks. Later, the family arrives at a specific shop in the bustling town. As the door creaks open, the dragon shopkeepers immediately bow deeply, their voices filled with reverence. "Your Majesty, the Silver Dragon Queen and her family, it is our great honor to serve you." Rosweiss enters with her usual grace, followed by Leon and the children. Inside, Muen dashes around excitedly, her curiosity boundless. She grabs Noah's hand and tugs her toward the walls, pointing eagerly. "Noah, look. So many dragon pictures," she exclaims, her eyes sparkling with wonder. Noah, ever stoic, remains silent, her expression unchanged despite her sister's enthusiasm. Meanwhile, Leon sidles up to Rosweiss, his curiosity piqued. In a low voice he asks, "Aren't you the Silver Dragon Queen? Why are you coming here to take photos yourself? Shouldn't someone else handle this?" Rosweiss glances at him sideways, clearly unimpressed. "The Dragon King of a tribe can only command members of their own tribe," she explains calmly. "The dragons of Sky City, however, do not belong to any specific tribe. They're independent." Leon smirks, clearly enjoying himself. "So basically your queenly status doesn't hold much weight here, huh?" he quips, a glint of mischief in his eyes. Before he can revel in his teasing for long, Rosweiss stomps on his foot with her sharp high heels. A sharp jolt of pain shoots through Leon as he winces, but Rosweiss remains composed, brushing off his antics as if nothing had happened. Leon yelps in pain, hopping on one foot as he clutches his throbbing toes. Rosweiss, donning a sweet yet dangerously mischievous smile, quips, "Well, in any case, I'm taller than you now." Her remark elicits a nervous chuckle from the head shopkeeper, who steps forward and bows deeply. "It's truly an honor to have the Silver Dragon Queen and her family here," the shopkeeper says with reverence. "To take a family photo for Her Majesty is a privilege beyond compare." Rosweiss straightens her posture, flipping her hair with a confident flourish. "Everyone says my photography skills are top-notch among the dragon tribe," she boasts. "It's your great fortune that we managed to schedule this appointment." As they converse, the head shopkeeper glances cautiously toward Leon and asks, "What about Her Majesty's husband's tail? Should it be included in the photo?" Rosweiss waves the question aside with a nonchalant gesture. "He's not fond of showing his tail," she explains with a shrug. "Let's pick a tailless suit for him instead." Her words spark a vivid memory, and a sly smile tugs at her lips as she recalls the earlier incident at the Silver Dragon Castle. Before departing for Sky City, Rosweiss had presented Leon with a custom-made silver dragon tail decoration, urging him to wear it. Leon's reaction had been immediate and dramatic. "Absolutely not," he had exclaimed, retreating several steps as if the tail ornament were cursed. "I'll never wear that thing. Even if I die, it's about my dignity." Back in the shop, Rosweiss shakes her head at the memory, clearly amused by Leon's stubbornness. The head shopkeeper, oblivious to the backstory, nods respectfully and gestures for Rosweiss to move to another area to try on her outfits. Meanwhile, across the shop, Muen skips around with infectious energy, her excitement lighting up the room. "I want to wear a pretty dress," she chirps, her voice filled with cheer. After some time, Muen and Noah emerge from the changing room in their new dresses, both looking radiant and ready for the family photo. Their elegance draws admiring glances from the shopkeepers and other customers. Shortly after, Leon steps out, dressed in a crisp white suit. His polished appearance is a stark departure from his usual casual style, leaving an impression on everyone present. Muen's eyes widen in delight as she takes in her father's new look. "Dad, you look so handsome," she exclaims, her voice brimming with admiration and surprise. The head shopkeeper nods approvingly, her smile warm and genuine. "The suit fits the prince perfectly," she remarks. "I imagine he must have been quite popular in his youth." Leon arches an eyebrow, clearly enjoying the compliment. A smirk spreads across his face as he responds, "You really think so?" His tone carries a playful confidence, momentarily basking in the praise. The last time Leon had worn something this formal was at his school graduation. His thoughts drifted as he adjusted his suit until his gaze fell on Noah. "What do you think, Noah?" he asked suddenly, catching her off guard. Noah blinked, momentarily surprised, then glanced away, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. "You look quite handsome," she muttered softly. Leon's grin widened at her response, and he affectionately patted both Muen and Noah on their heads. "And your dresses are adorable too," he added warmly, drawing smiles from both girls. Just then, Rosweiss stepped out of the dressing room, her appearance stealing the attention of everyone in the room. Draped in an elegant gown that perfectly accentuated her poise, she was breathtaking. A stunned silence followed, with Leon's jaw slightly dropping as he stared in awe. Rosweiss was undeniably stunning. Noticing Leon's dumbfounded expression, Rosweiss smirked, tilting her head playfully. "What's wrong, Leon?" she asked, her voice teasing. Snapping out of his trance, Leon quickly looked away, scratching the back of his head in awkward embarrassment. "Nothing, it's just, that dress suits you," he mumbled, his voice barely audible. Rosweiss's cheeks flushed faintly at the unexpected compliment, but she quickly masked it with a casual tone. "Well," she replied, "I think it would look even better if you had a tail." Leon's expression darkened instantly, and inwardly he screamed, "I will never wear a tail, not in this lifetime." Before the tension could linger, the head shopkeeper intervened with a cheerful tone. "All right everyone, let's get ready for the family photo," she announced, positioning the camera. Muen, filled with excitement, waved her little hands eagerly. "Mom, Dad, come here," she called, tugging Noah into position. Rosweiss and Leon hesitated as they took their places, each stubbornly avoiding the other's gaze. "Your Majesty, Prince Leon, step a little closer please," the shopkeeper encouraged. "Let's capture the love and harmony of this beautiful family." "One smile," the shopkeeper announced, starting the countdown. Muen beamed brightly, her cheerful energy lighting up the scene. Noah maintained her usual stoic demeanor, while Leon and Rosweiss looked as though they were barely tolerating the moment. For the final shot, the shopkeeper suggested something unique, Rosweiss and Leon forming a heart-shaped symbol together. Rosweiss skillfully coiled her tail into the shape of half a heart, while Leon begrudgingly completed the other half with his hand. The resulting photo was a mix of charm and awkwardness, highlighted by Rosweiss's playful smirk and Leon's reluctant expression. Despite his initial resistance, even Leon had to admit the photos turned out well, though he silently resolved never to mention the heart symbol again. In another shot, Rosweiss and Leon faced each other, their gazes locked in a fiery stare. Though their flushed faces hinted at embarrassment, the intensity of their rivalry was undeniable. Observing the dynamic, the head shopkeeper chuckled and remarked, "You two really look like a couple. This photo is definitely one for the books, a special edition if you will." Speaking of memorable moments, Leon's graduation ceremony came to mind. On that day, a throng of female juniors had surrounded him, each vying for his attention. One timidly asked, "Senior Leon, can we take a photo together?" Another inquired, "Will you have dinner with us later?" A third, presenting a carefully wrapped gift, pleaded, "Please accept this, Senior Leon." Caught off guard by their overwhelming attention, Leon had looked visibly flustered, his expression torn between hesitation and mild panic. Struggling to navigate the situation, he finally composed himself, donned a stern expression, and declared, "I'm sorry but I can't. I have to head back and nail hooves for my master's donkey. Maybe next time." His abrupt excuse left the girls stunned. Their hopeful smiles quickly faded as disappointment washed over them, and one by one they retreated, hearts visibly broken. Leon sighed in relief, waving them off with a cheerful goodbye, though the air still carried the weight of their crushed spirits. From a distance, Leon's master had observed the scene, shaking his head with a long, exasperated sigh. "Did this guy get kicked in the head by a donkey? What is wrong with him?" he muttered to himself. Back in Sky City, after the photo shoot, the head shopkeeper informed them that the photos would take approximately 6 hours to develop. She suggested Her Majesty take a leisurely stroll through the city in the meantime. As they exited the shop, Muen cheerfully waved goodbye to the shopkeeper. Noah and Leon exchanged a glance, a silent yet telling moment, as if they both suspected something unusual. Suddenly, Muen grabbed Noah's hand and darted into the bustling streets, her excitement bubbling over as she urged him to look over there. Leon and Rosweiss followed at a more measured pace, their children's boundless energy far surpassing their own. As they walked, Leon glanced at Rosweiss, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "I never thought I'd get the chance to go shopping with you." Leon steps slow as he remarks how different this all feels. Rosweiss, ever composed, replies in her calm tone, reminding him that this is merely for maintaining their family image. Yet, her demeanor softens as she adds, "Besides, Noah has been preparing so diligently for her entrance exam. She's worked hard for almost a month. It's good for her to relax occasionally." As their conversation continues, Muen and Noah suddenly halt in front of a bustling stall featuring a balloon shooting game. Their eyes immediately fixate on a cute teddy bear displayed among the prizes. Muen's excitement shines through her starry-eyed gaze, while Noah appears equally captivated by the fluffy toy. Leon and Rosweiss catch up, pausing in surprise as they find the girls completely engrossed. Noah steps forward with quiet determination, picking up the toy gun. She takes aim carefully, her focus intense, but her efforts fall short. Either her shots miss the balloons entirely, or they strike ones that refuse to pop. A tense silence follows, and Noah's face twists into a pout of frustration, the expression unintentionally adorable. Myun's enthusiasm dims, her disappointment mirroring Noah's. The shopkeeper, noticing their downcast expressions, offers a warm smile. A few more tries and I'm sure you'll get it. Leon steps forward, shaking his head with a chuckle. So, they've got games like this here too, huh? Myun's face lights up as she exclaims, Dad? Meanwhile, Noah, still pouting, mutters about how she just can't seem to win. Leon laughs awkwardly, suspecting that the game might be rigged. But before he can voice his doubts, Noah shoves the toy gun into his hands, her pout now almost commanding. Taking the gun, Leon examines it thoughtfully, recalling similar games he had encountered in human markets. Ross Weiss watches him intently, commenting, the bullets for this toy are crafted from magical energy. It takes precise control to manage the magic effectively. No wonder it's challenging for Noah. Sensing an opportunity, the shopkeeper smiles slyly at the parents. Would you two like to give it a try? If you can hit all the balloons within 10 shots, you'll win the pair of teddy bears your daughter seems so fond of. Internally, the shopkeeper smirks, proud of his strategy. Letting the children struggle first was a calculated move to draw their parents into spending more money. Leon glances at Myun and Noah, his voice gentle. Do you want the teddy bears? Noah huffs, crossing her arms and looking away. I'm not interested, she declares, though her tone betrays her real feelings. Beside her, Myun lowers her shoulders, her voice soft and wistful. Myun doesn't want them either. Despite their attempts to mask their desires, the longing in their eyes is unmistakable. Leon couldn't be fooled. Though Myun and Noah insisted otherwise, he knew they both wanted the teddy bears but were too proud to admit it. With a mischievous grin, he turned to Ross Weiss and, pointing at her, confidently declared to the shopkeeper, Give me 10 shots. She'll pay for it. Ross Weiss gasped in surprise, caught completely off guard. The shopkeeper, amused by their dynamic, chuckled and rubbed his hands together. That's the spirit. Leon picked up the gun, his expression shifting to one of intense focus. Memories of his training days at the Dragonslayer Academy flashed through his mind. It had been a while since he'd held a weapon, and a twinge of nostalgia accompanied the familiar feeling. Meanwhile, Ross Weiss begrudgingly handed over the gold, the shopkeeper accepting it with a cheerful, thanks. Taking aim, Leon fired his first shot. Mississippi. Another shot. Miss again. Shot after shot yielded the same result, not a single balloon popped. The shopkeeper smirked, pride swelling as he watched Leon fail. He had tampered with the gun to make the game almost impossible, confident that no one could win. Leon, however, wasn't ready to concede. Tapping the gun lightly, he frowned, murmuring, What's going on? Inspecting the weapon carefully, he slid his left hand casually into his pocket, took a deep breath and steadied his aim. This time, his movements were precise, calculated and smooth. One by one, the balloons burst with every shot. The shopkeeper's smug expression evaporated as disbelief overtook him. Leon spun the gun in his hand and smirked. Guess I just needed to test the sights first. Didn't expect to hit them all after that, he remarked coolly. The shopkeeper stood frozen, his mind racing as he struggled to comprehend what had just happened. Meanwhile, Ross Weiss offered a soft smile and said, Not bad. Myun, cheeks flushed with admiration, clutched her teddy bear tightly and exclaimed, Dad is amazing. Noah, equally surprised and blushing faintly, added, Dad is so sharp. Defeated, the shopkeeper forced a smile and handed over the teddy bears. That's awesome, he said, his tone anything but sincere. Internally, he muttered, Just take them and leave already. Leon accepted the prizes graciously, his warm smile contrasting the shopkeeper's reluctant expression. Thank you, he said, his voice genuine as he turned back to his family, the girls glowing with happiness. Leon knelt before his daughters, handing a teddy bear to each of them with a gentle smile. These are for you, he said softly. Myun's face lit up with joy as she hugged her bear tightly, looking up at him with pure happiness. Thank you, Dad, she exclaimed. Noah, meanwhile, cradled her bear delicately, inspecting it as though it were a precious treasure. In a quiet voice, she murmured, Thanks, Dad. Ross Weiss stood to the side, observing the tender moment. A flicker of surprise crossed her expression as she took in the rare harmony and affection between them. Watching Leon, a thought crept into her mind. Though this guy often seems offbeat, there's a certain charm about him when he gets serious. Leon, catching her gaze, held his attention on her, noticing the contemplative look on her face. Something about it stirred a decision in him. Ross Weiss, sensing his stare, glanced back at him, puzzled by his lingering expression. His lips curled into a faint smile, and without any explanation he remarked, "Oh, I have some thoughts about Rosweiss too. Let's see where they lead." Later, the family continued their stroll through the bustling streets. As they walked, a little dragon girl pointed toward Rosweiss, tugging on her mother's sleeve. "I want that too," the girl said. Startled, the mother glanced at Rosweiss with a hint of surprise but chose to stay silent. Meanwhile, Leon recalled an earlier idea. He had decided that Rosweiss, his big baby girl, deserved a teddy bear of her own. True to his plan, he managed to procure a large, oversized bear and handed it to her. Rosweiss accepted the bear, holding it as she walked alongside the family. Her expression remained calm and unreadable, showing no reaction to the little dragon girl's remark. After all, the comment had been directed at the girl's mother, not her. Leon strolled leisurely, his hands clasped behind his head, breaking the silence with a chuckle. "Did you see the look on that shopkeeper's face at the end?" he asked. "It was like he finally got rid of us and his anger all at once." He recalled the moment vividly, how the shopkeeper's face had turned pale when Leon demanded another shot, the man's disbelief growing as he realized Leon's inevitable victory. Rosweiss responded in her usual composed tone. "If it had been me," she remarked coolly, "I'd have advised you not to waste your time on such a childish game." Leon turned to her with a grin. "Come on," he said. "We're out here together. It's good to have a little fun." Tilting his head, he asked playfully, "Unless you didn't enjoy it?" Without changing her expression, Rosweiss replied curtly, "I didn't say that." Pointing a finger at her confidently, Leon declared, "Now that you're here, I can't let you go back empty-handed." Rosweiss, clutching the oversized teddy bear, felt a faint blush spread across her cheeks as a fleeting thought passed through her mind. Bears, in her view, were nothing more than unpalatable creatures, far from satisfying any appetite. Yet, when turned into toys, they held an unexpected charm. Without waiting for a response from Leon, she quickened her pace, walking ahead with her cheeks still tinted pink. Tossing a playful remark over her shoulder, she said, "Come find me after dinner tonight," her voice tinged with mischief. Leon froze mid-step, her words echoing in his ears. He stood rooted in place, wide-eyed, a wave of surprise washing over him. A moment later, he remained there, unmoving, a silent question lingering in his mind as if suspended in the air around him. That evening, within the grand halls of the Silver Dragon Castle, Leon found himself replaying Rosweiss's cryptic invitation in his mind. As he wandered down a dimly lit corridor after dinner, her words, "Come find me after dinner," repeated themselves like a mantra. His chest tightened with a mix of anticipation and unease. "It's late and I'm heading to her room alone," he muttered, his voice low. The thought unsettled him. "If I go, I'll feel awkward all night. If I don't, I'll be restless for a week." With a frustrated sigh, Leon clenched his fists, steeling his resolve. "Fine. I'll go see her. Whatever happens, happens." Determined, he strode down the hallway. Reaching Rosweiss's door, Leon stopped and inhaled deeply, readying himself to knock. Yet, as his hand neared the wood, he noticed the door was slightly ajar. Curiosity got the better of him, and he gently pushed it open, stepping into her room. His eyes swept over the space, searching for her. The sound of running water reached his ears and realization dawned. She was still in the shower. Leon's gaze drifted toward the bathroom, where the faint silhouette of Rosweiss was visible through the frosted glass shower door. Frowning, he noted the transparency of the glass. "What kind of cheap glass is this?" he thought, quickly averting his eyes in embarrassment. His mind raced, struggling to process the situation. As seconds turned to minutes, his internal turmoil grew. Snapping himself back to reality, Leon shook his head, trying to focus. Against his better judgment, he allowed his eyes to momentarily wander toward the shower. Whether he truly peeked or not remained unclear. What he saw was fleeting and ambiguous, impossible to confirm. Moments later, Rosweiss emerged, now dressed in her pajamas. Her damp silver hair clung to her skin, and the steam from the shower still lingered around her. Leon's breath caught as he took in the sight. Rosweiss met his gaze with a calm demeanor, her voice cutting through the charged atmosphere. "You're here. Let's get started." Her tone was steady, but the moment felt anything but ordinary. Leon's heart skipped a beat, his composure wavering. The scene felt almost surreal, as though it were a natural progression yet entirely unexpected. Rosweiss's beauty was undeniable, capable of captivating anyone who laid eyes on her. Leon, however, found himself grappling with a flicker of nervousness, a thought crossing his mind, "Am I about to be squeezed dry again?" The lingering tension left the romance suspended, teasing at what might unfold. Hours later, an extra layer of their story came to light. After 6 long hours, the photos were finally ready. Myun and Noah eagerly sifted through the pictures of their parents, Leon and Rosweiss. Myun's eyes sparkled with excitement as she exclaimed, "Mom and Dad look like such a perfect match." Noah, in contrast, remained quiet, her gaze fixed on the photos with an unreadable expression. As Leon flipped through the pictures, something caught his attention. "Hey, there's a card attached to this one," he remarked, holding it up. Rosweiss, her curiosity piqued, stepped closer and demanded, "Show it to me." Together, they turned the photo over to reveal a handwritten note from the head shopkeeper. Reading it aloud, they spoke in unison, "May the silver light always shine in the eyes of the one they love." Their faces instantly turned a deep shade of red. Embarrassed, they both protested at once. "Who's in love with whom?" Leon sputtered, "Who's in love with her?" Rosweiss snapped, "Who's in love with him?" Still flustered, Rosweiss briefly hid her face behind her hands before muttering indignantly, "There must be some mistake. Fix this photo for me." Leon, nodding in agreement, replied quickly, "Yeah, it must have been written wrong." Later, as Rosweiss stepped out of the shower room, her damp silver hair falling gracefully over her shoulders, she asked without hesitation, "Where would you like to do it? The living room or the balcony?" Leon froze in place, utterly blindsided by her words. His face flushed a deep red, panic setting in. Stammering, he replied nervously, "The balcony? That's not good, right? I mean, people might see us, that would be embarrassing." Rosweiss, with an air of indifference, casually adjusted her hair in the mirror. "The living room is fine then," she replied. "It makes no difference to me." Leon exhaled deeply, feeling as though he were trapped in an impossible situation. Finally, with a dramatic sigh, he clenched his fists and shouted, "Fine. Come on, do it." He threw himself onto the sofa, teeth gritted and eyes tightly shut, bracing for whatever was about to come. Rosweiss, observing his odd behavior, raised an eyebrow in amusement. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice carrying a hint of playfulness. Leon cracked one eye open, his face still burning with embarrassment. "Aren't you going to, do it?" he blurted out, unable to hide his flustered state. Rosweiss, now seated elegantly on the opposite sofa with her legs crossed, let a sly smile spread across her face. Her calm, composed demeanor only added to the tension in the room, leaving Leon to wonder what exactly he had just gotten himself into. Rosweiss couldn't resist teasing as she remarked with a playful smirk, "Mr. Casanova seems quite eager." Her tone shifted to one of calm playfulness as she added, "But tonight isn't suitable. Let's do it another day." Leon froze, her words striking him like lightning. Breaking the moment, Rosweiss placed a paper on the table. Leon, quickly composing himself, sat upright on the sofa and coughed awkwardly before asking, "What's this?" Rosweiss adjusted her posture and explained, "These are test questions from St. Heath Academy. They used to evaluate viviparous families in the past. The questions focus on the partner's living habits, personalities, and shared experiences." She placed more papers on the table and continued, "We need to get these answers right in advance. If we can't respond properly later, it could affect Noah's admission evaluation." Leon picked up the paper, skimming through the questions. With a skeptical look, he commented, "These are like questions from one of those cheesy couples' tacit understanding games." Rosweiss raised an eyebrow and replied, "Cheesy or not, they're important." Leon shrugged, scanning the paper further. "They're asking about stuff like your partner's favorite color, a phrase they often say, where you went on your first date, or which book they like to read." "Really?" Looking up, he asked, "All right then, Rosweiss, what's your favorite color?" "Black," she replied calmly, then returned the question, "What about you?" "Silver," Leon answered without hesitation. Their eyes locked, an unspoken realization settling between them. The intensity of their gaze grew until both became self-conscious, their faces flushing red. They quickly turned away, brushing off the moment. "It's just a coincidence," Rosweiss muttered, glancing to the side. "Yeah, just a coincidence," Leon agreed, scratching the back of his head and looking in the opposite direction. Clearing her throat, Rosweiss snapped their focus back to the task. "In any case, we need to test how well we know each other." "Fine by me," Leon replied, grabbing a pen. The two began filling in their answers, their focus entirely on the task. After a short while, Leon leaned back and declared, "I'm done." Rosweiss finished moments later and nodded. "Let's check the scores." They swapped papers to review each other's answers. When they finished tallying, Rosweiss had scored 45 points, while Leon scored 58. Leon leaned back with a smug grin. Looks like I scored higher than you. Seems like I know the queen better than she knows me. Glancing at her score, she felt a mixture of frustration and surprise. Thoughts raced through her mind. I didn't expect him to notice even my small habits, she admitted to herself. The way I sit or how I position my tail to feel comfortable. He must be more observant than I thought. Her gaze drifted to a particular question on the test. Has your partner ever been particularly disappointed with you about something? Leon had answered yes, but Rossweiss had marked no. Seeing his response, she sighed inwardly. The truth is, the only mistakes he's ever made are in guessing my thoughts, she reflected. Crossing her arms and briefly closing her eyes, she admitted, I've always kept things to myself, never really sharing openly with anyone. No wonder he guessed wrong. When she looked back at Leon, he was engrossed in the question paper, his brows furrowed in concentration. Watching him, a soft thought crept into her mind. Maybe, if it's him, I could rely on him. I could open up to him someday. Leon suddenly noticed her gaze. Her eyes were steady, intense, and somehow endearing. For a moment he wondered, is she mad about the score? The thought amused him and he chuckled inwardly. Placing a hand on her shoulder, he teased lightly, hey, it's no big deal. We haven't spent that much time together yet. It's only natural that you wouldn't score high this time. Rossweiss blinked, startled as though snapped out of a trance. Her eyes darted to his hand, then back to his face. Leon smiled warmly and added, give it a little more time, and you'll know me better than I know myself. His words were light-hearted, but the sincerity in his voice caught her off guard. Her heart skipped a beat, and soon it was pounding so loudly she was certain he could hear it. She clutched the question paper tightly, trying to steady herself as an unfamiliar warmth spread through her chest. What's wrong with me? She wondered, her face flushed as she avoided his gaze. In an attempt to mask her flustered state, she abruptly slammed the question paper into his face. Blushing fiercely, she demanded, stop talking nonsense and write down your correct answers. Leon, unfazed and still smiling, leaned back and teased, wait, did you really get this question wrong? He pointed to her previous answer and said, you told me you've never been disappointed in me before. Rossweiss, clearly flustered, denied it with a quick shake of her head. But then, after a brief pause, she added, if I must point out something, it would be the lack of Dragon Great Forces last time. Leon smirked and teased, from now on, I'll make Dragon Great Force pills my meals. Don't regret it later. With a sly smile, Rossweiss replied, I'm looking forward to it. As the scene shifted to the night before the entrance exam, Leon was reviewing the question paper. He nodded in satisfaction, noting, after a week of hard work, our average score on the test questions is over 80. If we perform normally, there shouldn't be any issue with the family assessment. Rossweiss, utterly exhausted, collapsed onto the bed without a word. Seeing her unresponsive, Leon got up and said, if there's nothing else, I'll head back first. He turned to leave, but just as he reached the door, she grabbed his shirt sleeve, stopping him. Wait, she said softly, her tone catching him off guard. Leon turned back, a questioning look on his face as Rossweiss pointed toward the shower room. There's a bathtub in my bathroom. Go take a bath and then come back. Leon blinked in surprise, stunned by her unexpected suggestion. What do you mean by telling me to take a shower in your room? He asked, bewildered. Without hesitation, Rossweiss began pushing him toward the shower room. Just go and wash when I tell you to. Hurry up, she insisted. Rossweiss, Leon protested, calling her name, but she ignored him and continued pushing until he was inside. Once Leon was in the shower room, she quickly closed the door. Standing by the door, Leon began taking off his shirt, perplexed. Why does she want me to take a shower in her bathroom for no reason? He wondered aloud. He questioned if she was planning something strange but sighed, reasoning that her nerves were probably just frayed due to the entrance exam. Concluding it was nothing serious, Leon decided to relax and enjoy the bath. Immersed in the hot water, he leaned back and sighed contentedly. This feels so good, he murmured to himself. As Leon soaked in the tub, Rossweiss slowly opened the bathroom door. She was wrapped in a towel, her presence catching Leon completely off guard. Seeing her, he loudly called out her name in shock. Rossweiss smirked, flicking her hair behind her ear as the dragon mark on her chest began to glow faintly. Looking at him, she said, I've been feeling a lot of pressure these days and I want to do it now. Leon's face turned pale as her words registered. Internally panicking, he thought, what I've been fearing has finally come true. The dragon mark on Rossweiss' chest began resonating with the mark on his, creating a visible connection. Alarmed, Leon stood up abruptly, shouting, "Why? If you're under pressure, why are you putting it on me?" Ross Weiss, smiling mischievously and winking at him, replied, "By transferring the pressure to you, I can feel relieved. Isn't that right?" Ross Weiss removed the towel from her body and stood before Leon, completely bare, her gaze unwavering. She asked pointedly if he hadn't arrived here with this intention just a few days ago. Leon, unable to refute the truth in her words, averted his eyes and silently acknowledged her statement, realizing he had no way to decline her. Without hesitation, Ross Weiss stepped into the bathtub, joining Leon, her body pressing gently against his chest. Locking eyes with him, she leaned closer and said he couldn't escape anymore, urging him to surrender completely. Leon, unable to resist her, complied as their dragon marks began to glow with increasing intensity, the light bright and undeniable. The next day at the admission test for St. Heath Academy, Leon and Ross Weiss arrived alongside Noah. Leon marveled at the sight of the prestigious institution. His voice filled with awe as he remarked, "So this is St. Heath Academy?" He turned toward Ross Weiss, noticing her unusually quiet demeanor and serious expression. Concerned, Leon leaned closer and asked what was wrong, joking that he had performed decompression for her last night, but it seemed to have worn off quickly. Ross Weiss's face turned red with embarrassment, and she hit his back lightly, muttering under her breath for him to go to hell. Leon laughed at her reaction and encouraged her to move on, and together they entered the academy. At the registration desk, they submitted Noah's details. The receptionist, reading from the form, announced, "Noah King Melk, Silver Dragon Clan." Her skeptical expression did not go unnoticed by Leon, who immediately asked if there was an issue. The receptionist assured them there was none but admitted her surprise. She explained that while the academy allowed young dragons to enroll at a minimum age of 1 year, most applicants were between 4 and 6 years old. With a faint smirk, the receptionist teasingly asked if Noah was the princess of their clan, suggesting she might be too young. Ross Weiss, her face composed and authoritative, responded firmly that Noah was exceptionally intelligent and her age posed no obstacle. Respecting her decisive tone, the receptionist nodded and instructed them to proceed. She informed them that Noah would be escorted by a special staff member to the written test, while Leon and Ross Weiss would need to head to the 4th floor for the family assessment. On the 4th floor, inside the meeting room, Leon and Ross Weiss sat across from the academy staff. Ross Weiss leaned close to Leon, holding his hand with a warm smile, and whispered playfully, asking if, based on his experience, he thought the 3 individuals in front of them would be easy to handle. Leon glanced at them, his face stoic and disinterested. In a low voice he replied that they looked easy to kill. Reflecting silently, he noted that the version of himself from before Ross Weiss had captured his heart would have eliminated all 3 in under 50 rounds. His expression darkened, his jaw clenched, and his body radiated a palpable killing intent. Tightening his fist, Leon whispered to Ross Weiss that if these individuals dared to prevent Noah from attending the academy, he would confront them with his sword. The 3 academy staff, although maintaining their composure outwardly, could feel the overwhelming intensity of Leon's aura. Internally, they acknowledged him as a truly intimidating and imposing parent. An older man, introducing himself as Walter Wilson, the vice principal of St. Heath Academy, calmly explained that he would be overseeing their assessment for the day. His demeanor was composed as he reassured them not to be nervous, advising them to simply relax and answer his questions. Ross Weiss forced a polite smile and nodded, while Leon, offering a strained smile, silently assessed the man. He couldn't shake the feeling that this vice principal wasn't as simple as he appeared and wondered if something unusual might be about to happen. The vice principal then posed a question. Did they remember the date of their wedding anniversary? Ross Weiss and Leon exchanged a brief glance, both of them knowing this question was coming. Back in their bedroom at Silver Dragon Castle, Ross Weiss had once told Leon that they needed to be prepared if anyone ever asked about their anniversary. Since they had never officially married and she had become pregnant before they could tie the knot, they had planned a response. Leon, recalling her words, paused for a moment and then answered that if he had to pick a day that left a lasting impression, it would be that one. Ross Weiss, following his lead, completed the answer by stating it was in the year 1733 of the creation calendar. In the interview room, both Leon and Ross Weiss confidently answered that it was May 25th. Leon, however, couldn't help but reflect silently on the fact that May 25th was the day he and Ross Weiss had first bonded in the dungeon. The vice principal glanced at the papers they had submitted, his expression tinged with suspicion. He remarked that their child was already over 1 year old, despite their marriage lasting less than 2 years, noting that this progression seemed faster than what was typical for most families. Leon, laughing awkwardly, quickly explained that they had fallen in love at first sight, had a wonderful relationship, and things had progressed rapidly, including their marriage and pregnancy. Shifting his attention, the vice principal then asked if, during their 2 years of marriage, they had discovered any shortcomings or bad habits in each other. Leon answered yes, while Rosweiss replied no. Internally, they both thought their answers should be a mix of truth and fiction, just enough to seem convincing. When asked to elaborate, Leon put on an act, his face falling into a sad expression. With an Oscar-worthy performance, he dramatically explained that sometimes he felt invisible, as though he didn't exist. Blushing, he placed his hand on his chest and continued, describing how his wife was so capable, managing family affairs and housework with exceptional order, which made him feel insignificant. As Leon delivered his monologue, Rosweiss stared at him, unimpressed. Flustered now, Leon turned to her, gently taking her hands in his face still red. Rosweiss, playing along with Leon's act and blushing as well, gazed into his eyes. In a soft voice, Leon expressed his concern, telling her that she easily accumulated stress, and he wanted to take this opportunity to say something important. He told her that he wanted to do more for their family and asked her to rely on him. Internally, however, he thought that she shouldn't take advantage of him when he's under pressure in the future. An older woman suddenly interjected, commenting on how considerate and good a husband Leon seemed to be. She then turned to Rosweiss and asked her what she thought was the most attractive thing about her husband. Surprised, Rosweiss paused for a moment before answering. With a flushed face, she described Leon as handsome, with a great figure, focused, serious, smart, responsible, fond of children, and someone who never lost his temper. She added that he wasn't greasy, which made him even more attractive. Rosweiss also mentioned that although her health hadn't been as good as it was before marriage, it wasn't a major issue since Leon was skilled at making medicine and used various remedies to treat her. Leon, hearing her praise, forced a smile but laughed awkwardly. Internally, he wondered if she was truly praising him or subtly insulting him. As the conversation continued, Rosweiss, still holding Leon's hands, looked into his eyes with a concerned expression. Caught off guard, Leon awkwardly glanced back at her, unsure how to respond. Rosweiss then added that she also wanted to take the opportunity to tell her husband not to push himself too much. As she spoke, she tightened her grip on Leon's hand, applying enough pressure that he screamed internally in pain. The three assessors, completely fooled by their act, thought to themselves what a loving couple they made. Later, the three assessors asked Rosweiss and Leon a series of questions, and the couple answered each one with poise and grace, leaving a strong impression. As the interview neared its conclusion, the older man asked if they had any questions for the other party. He explained that this was an additional question, and the person being asked must answer truthfully. Rosweiss, shaking her head with a light smile, responded that she had no questions for Leon because she already knew everything about him. The old man then turned to Leon and asked if he had a question for Rosweiss. Leon, appearing deep in thought, paused for a moment. Rosweiss, watching him with a smirking smile, thought to herself that the more one spoke, the more mistakes they made, and it would be better to wrap up the assessment quickly. Leon suddenly asked Rosweiss if she liked the teddy bear he had given her. Rosweiss, hearing his words, was taken aback, her face flushing red. Internally, Rosweiss finds it surprising that Leon would ask such a question, one that seemed completely unrelated to identity, position, or grudges. She thought his thoughts always managed to catch her off guard. Flicking her hair behind her ear, still blushing slightly, she responded that she liked the teddy bear very much. Hearing her answer, Leon smiled with satisfaction, telling her that he understood and was fine with her response. The vice principal, shaking hands with Leon, announced that the interview was over. He informed them that the results of the assessment would be sent to Silver Dragon Castle via dragon letter in a few days and thanked them once again for their cooperation. With the interview and Noah's test completed, the group returned to Silver Dragon Castle. A few days later, a little red dragon arrived with news from the academy. Myun, seeing the dragon calling out to Noah, excitedly exclaimed that the dragon letter had arrived. Leon picked up the letter from the dragon and opened it, saying, "Let's have a look." The letter read, "Dear Noah Kane Melkve, congratulations on passing the academy's assessment. Please come to the academy in 3 days to register and attend the entrance ceremony." The four of them, reading the letter, expressed their surprise and joy at Noah's acceptance. Myun, hugging Noah and rubbing her cheek against hers, said, "You're amazing, sis, and your parents are amazing too." Noah, looking at the admission letter, smiled for the first time during the entire exchange. Rosweiss, glancing at Leon, thanked him. Leon, feeling proud, asked, "Why is she thanking me?" "It's mainly up to Noah herself. She's truly worthy of being my daughter." Ross Weiss, winking as she left, said she would make a big meal to celebrate and suggested Leon come help so people wouldn't say he didn't exist in the family. Leon, smirking, agreed, saying, "I find you very petty, always holding a grudge."
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, it really helps. And for more content like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see another part. I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you next time. Bye-bye.